Welcome everyone to the Faded Connections Path of Exile Community Podcast, episode number 29. Faded Connections is a Path of Exile community podcast hosted by myself and BalorMage. Tonight, in the under the star of racing, at the same time with a wonderfully organized event by Brittle Knee. If you haven't seen it, check it out. There is community racing going on right now, and probably that will be available for the people who listen to the recording as well as a recording. We have two amazing slightly racing related guests. So first of all, of course, we got TyTyKiller, who has been blasting off really hard. And
yo, what up? Oh, is that my turn? I don't know.
Yeah, it's always awkward. It's not your fault.
Okay.
It's the way that I do it.
My name's TyTyKiller. I've been doing PoE speedrunning for over a year and a half. Just playing the game, having fun. That's what my stream's about. Learning, teaching.
That's awesome.
Getting better.
And the one and only Kammell is also here, who, if you haven't seen him before, should be known to you at least from the name Kammell Races, which were synonymous with Path of Exile racing for quite some time.
That's true. Hello. Thank you for having me.
Awesome that you could make it.
Just real quick, is it Kammell or Camille?
It's Kammell.
It is Kammell? Alright.
Yeah.
Because I read it first, like, probably 200 times, and I always just read it as Camille, and then I started hearing people say Kammell, and I was like, one of us is wrong.
A lot of people said Kammell, because I played with Havoc for a long time, and he always called me Kammell, and I just don't care enough to correct anybody. So you can call me whatever, it doesn't really matter, but it's
Kammell is cool.
Nice.
Yep.
That's awesome. Yeah, so what have you guys been up to? It was a pretty tightly packed last couple of weeks. There was a lot of events in racing in Path of Exile, but at the same time, we're a little bit in the downtime between leagues, and people have been branching out, playing other games. What have you personally been doing, TyTy?
I'll go ahead and start. So I was practicing pretty hard for the method races. Trying to pop off, trying to beat Havoc. Wasn't able to pull it out in the end, but I was able to beat a lot of other people. I had a lot of fun in those. Other than that, I just kind of been taking time off. I had a lot of FPS issues recently, so I just played MapleStory private servers with some friends. That's about it.
MapleStory is a cool game, from what I hear.
Yep.
Should check
legacy
it out.
servers.
And you can.
As for me, I've been playing. I got closed beta on the first day for Valorant, so I've been playing a bunch of that because I kind of suck at FPS games. So I've been trying to get better, and I played a little bit of Apex. And yeah, that's about it. Just mostly been playing Valorant, working, living life.
Usual.
Me and TyTy played Valorant. TyTy is better than he said he was. He advertised himself as the worst Valorant player, and he's actually not bad.
I'm the second worst Valorant player.
TyTy is a very good listener, and observed what he can do better at. Which
Thanks, man.
I guess we'll talk about with PoE racing, but that's how you got good at PoE racing.
Yeah, we gotta get there first.
I think we've all realized that in the past year or two that TyTy is incredibly talented at getting better at things.
Yeah, I mean, a part of it is he's just got good mental attitude.
PMA.
I feel like a part of that is just the ability to hit your head on the same wall over and over again until you break through it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like it's just straight up. Like a lot of it is learning and listening for sure, but definitely just being able to do it over and over again and just keep practicing and still feel good about doing another practice run and then another practice run and then another one. And then you look back and you're like, oh, we cut 10 minutes off the time. Let's go again.
Oh, sort of. I mean, most of Ty23 strategy was do a run, think about it conceptually, break it down piece by piece, and really observe and spend more time analyzing it. Whereas my style has always just been oh, I did these 3 things wrong. Let me slam my head into my keyboard and do another run. And then, okay, I did this wrong. Let me slam my head on the keyboard and just, do another run. But that's inefficient. It's pretty
an 18-month conversation between me and TyTy about how he needs to get better.
Yeah. Pretty much.
The way that he practices was bad for a long time. I think he got better though. I don't know. Yeah, yeah. But
I'm pretty
I think
sure
the
I had
most
a.
important thing is like, a lot of good racers. He just knows that he sucks.
Pretty much.
I suck. You just got to know that you suck, and then you can get better.
Yeah. I mean, I suck the most probably out of most of the racers, I would say. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, the cool thing about PoE racing is like there's like so much. I don't know. There's like so much stuff that goes on in PoE racing that you make so many mistakes inevitably throughout a run that there's just always a way to improve. Like even Ty never played perfect. Like it's impossible.
Yep.
So
Mhm.
like speedrunning in other games, there is actually like a perfect way to do it, especially because it's not quite as long generally. And yeah, there's just like so many points of improvement if you just keep hammering away.
Other games also don't have that many RNG factors in it. I mean, in PoE, really everything, it starts from the vendor inventories, the layouts. I mean, there is some consistency, but there's always some random factor that you cannot 100% predict.
I don't know, like when I was practicing for XLCon, I pretty much hit the same mark every single time until I, thought about it and like, improved my, mistakes. And then I was consistently getting like 10 seconds faster, 20 seconds faster, until I eventually had I would hit these various walls where it's like, okay, I did like Katava at like 106 and I could do that like every single run. And I mean, that took a really long time to get there, but there was a number of days where like I was just getting 110, 110, 110, 111, 112, 109, just back to back. So
I
there's a lot
remember
of
me, Ty, and Gucci did league start practice. And we do like 3 Act 10 runs a day. And we did, I forget what the time was, but it was like within a minute every single time.
Yep.
Like I'm not even like literally within a minute, like 20 seconds apart, 30 seconds apart, which over it probably was
team,
like
that's what 3.5, 4 hours or something for you guys? Somewhere
no,
around there.
I think like 2 hours and 15 minutes, something like that. It wasn't that long.
Yeah, sounds about right.
At league start.
Yeah. I forget what league we did. It was like Legion League.
That was.
Do you remember the league we competed with you guys? It was when you and Havoc played.
Was that solo or group practice? Was that group with porting each other? Okay. Or was
that was Metamorph.
Metamorph.
Yeah, that was Metamorph. I remember because we were complaining about it for like.
Because I knew Ty was gonna retire, so I wanted to do one last league with him. So me, Gucci, and Ty played with him.
Sweetie.
I love Ty, by the way.
That
I love him
is
too.
so. I can't
like
even get my
good
head
meme.
around that. I'm like doing Cruel Lab. You guys are doing Kataba 10. It's fine.
I mean, it's also like old campaign, pre-nerf builds, pre-nerf, pre-buff campaign. So, old times aren't going to be beaten anytime soon.
Are you sure it's Metamorph? It might have been Legion. What was the?
Because I remember it's definitely Metamorph, homie.
So
No. It was Blight. It was Blight. My bad.
Yeah, I was gonna say Blight because Metamorph was a buff.
I know for a fact it was the league where they buffed Smoke Mine because we didn't use Smoke Mine because we had no idea it was awesome. Whatever league they buffed Smoke Mine.
It must have been Blight because Blight was the mine rework, and that's when they made
if we had
mines
known,
throwable.
We would have cut like 10 minutes off of our time.
Yeah, it's insane. We didn't know about it either, I don't think. I think Heshler told me about it like way later on for a race. But it was definitely Blight because we were complaining about Blight. My bad.
Blight, okay.
Must have been Blight because Blight is when mines became throwable, and before that, obviously, like only use Smoke Mine for the speed buff, I think, and not as an actual blink skill. Unless you were opening strong boxes, like put a mine there, open the strong box, and blink back to the mine, but that was clunky. I think we want to directly go into some of the topics that we prepared, and that's what I want to hear about is TyTyKiller. You are, unlike a lot of veterans who are good at racing, you're someone who only came into the game around Legacy League. That's right. And yeah, do you want to talk a little bit about what got you to start the game and what got you to get into racing?
What got me to start the game was that I was playing Diablo 3 with my friend, and then my friend stopped playing Diablo 3 and he started playing PoE, and I was like, hey, this game's pretty cool. I didn't really care about racing. I just want to be fast with my friend. He was like lapping me around like difficulties, so I was like pretty mad. When Kammell organized his first race, I was like invited by I think Ventura recommended me or something like that.
It's
Cam was like, yo, yeah, it was Rathalos. And Cam was like, yo, you want in, buddy? I'll get you in. And I was like, really? Me with the big boys? Like, it wasn't like I wasn't trying to compete. I was just trying to, have fun. And I mean, I guess I've been trying to have fun the whole time, but it wasn't until like more recently that I took it like a little bit more seriously.
It's awesome. And for you, Kammell, since when are you playing the game? I think I haven't even asked you that when I talked to you the other day.
Well, I'm pretty old. I'm 28, and when I was younger, I used to play WoW, and I was in a couple WoW guilds. I was in Blood Legion, which is a pretty popular WoW guild, and then I played with a bunch of buddies, and I started in 1.3, which was Bloodlines. And then I had kind of a weird early 20s, so I like moved around and did a lot of partying and stuff. And then I got more into it when I was in my mid 20s, and I started racing like around when they had the last race season. And I just remember getting like really pissed off because Dead and Doom would be like 3 zones ahead of me. So I just like started like spamming practice, just like practicing all the time. But there was no racing after that last race season except the Havoc race, which I didn't end up getting into. I tried to hit them up to get into it, but I didn't get into it. And then they announced the private leagues, and so I saw a way for us to start racing again. And yeah, pretty much I don't know. I just loved PoE racing. It was always so much fun, especially going against some people have gotten like really, really good. Specifically, competing against Havoc and Dead and Doom is a lot of fun. Competing against Havoc is the best.
Speaking
Havoc
against Chip, Exile, Dead and Doom, and Havoc are so fun to play against right now, in my opinion.
Dead and Doom's great. The problem with going against Dead and Doom is that he's just like me and him. So every race since the beginning, since like my first races, we've been in Discord together. So it's just like literally just us talking shit for however long the race is, and it just we both are considerably worse because we just hang out in Discord talking shit to each other. It's like we're playing our own race, and then everyone else is racing against each other. It's kind of funny. Love that guy.
I could tell. There was one race where I was in Discord, and I was like, "This is kind of trolling." Like I'm just trying to be, entertaining. Not trying to.
I remember I was like watching Rise's VOD because you would do like casting for a race, and I'm literally just laughing for like an hour and a half, and he's like, "Cam was not even taking this seriously." I'm like, dude, Dead and Doom was just screaming into my ear about how he hasn't found a 3 link in 3x, and he's just like losing his mind.
So what does make, outside of the ability to race, what does make a good opponent in your eyes? Like, because you said certain people are so fun to race against. Is it really just their ability that they consistently are a challenge to play against, or is there other things, other factors?
I was thinking about this the other day. And not sorry to cut you off, TyTy, but I was thinking about there's 2 different racers in my mind, and me and Havoc are the same kind of racer, and TyTy is a different kind of racer than us. And TyTy is similar to Gucci, because me and Havoc, I thought about this. Me and Havoc, and this is why Havoc's so fun to play against, is we both will do like weird shit specifically so that we can trash talk later because nobody else thought of it. Like even if it's not the best thing. And TyTy and Gucci just want to have the best time possible. So they'll do like cookie cutter builds. They don't care. That's why Havoc's so fun to go against. Because Havoc, like if you lose to him and then he's like, dude, I played Stormcall. Like you guys don't even know. And then he just starts talking shit to you. And you're like, oh no, dude.
It's true. It feels so bad, dude.
He tries to bury you with like 300 IQ plays beyond just speed. And so you just can't. Yeah, losing to Havoc is horrible. I hate losing to Havoc. Like TyTy is just like, all right, he played the Oos build better than me. Like whatever. Like good job, buddy.
Yeah,
losing to Havoc, this dude. Yeah, I don't know.
He pulls out the stops.
So yeah, there are people, especially like TyTy probably has like different like rivals, so to speak, than I do, just because he's newer. So he has like people who are newer, like Chip. Him and Chip are probably pretty close competitors.
He's my rival. We kind of got this little like group going on. Like me, Chip, and Exile are just best buds basically. Chip sends me a new game and we play like Penguin Jump. Just a little like multiplication game meant for like 4th graders, and we just sit in that and just play it for an hour here and there. Wait, that's just a little rant. What makes a good racer, in my opinion, get back on topic. Makes a good racer is just like skill and attitude. Like I've never really ran into somebody where I'm like, man, I really hate their attitude. I really despise this player. I think the only thing that I really dislike is when someone does something weird, like consistently, and it's like bad. It's like when people play like a class that isn't going to win a race, but they get like, I don't know, the first 20 zones because they don't have the mule, or they're just particularly very fast early on. I don't really like that, to be honest. I think it would be better if people were like doing what's best. But like you said, Kammell, like there's certain people who do weird stuff, and it feels bad to lose to them. But there's some certain people that I feel like they pull out weird stuff, and it doesn't really work. But it still tilts me. So
Quantric playing Templar every race.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, he can do whatever he wants. I respect it.
Yeah. Sometimes you saw that in like the what was that, like the second method like qualifier? I remember they were talking about like going. Didn't Dendim go duelist?
Yeah. Yeah,
whatever. I'm going. I'm trying this out. Me and Dendim would always do. We did Firestorm one race. I mean, one of the problems for me was I was the race organizer, so I always felt like kind of compelled to like. Everyone's playing Stormbrand, so I'm like, all right, maybe I should try to do something else sometimes. Like I had like motivations beyond just like trying to be the best racer because I kind of had to put on a show.
True. It's pretty true.
You also streamed when you were racing Kammell, right? Or did you always stream or never stream, or how is that? Because I saw that in the chat earlier, a comment that people said they haven't seen you stream, but I did catch your stream once or twice.
I've pretty much always streamed. I can't think of a race where I didn't stream. Maybe something like the last race season. I used to always stream like league starts. That's how like I ended up knowing people in the race community, was just from like SSF league starts. And I'd be streaming and people, I'd be like first or second or third or whatever, and then people would stop in and say hi. I played with Havoc for a little while, so I do some group stuff with him. But yeah, I did stream. I'd stream practice for a while too. I did kind of like what TyTy does now, which was like do like runs and try to like talk people through kind of the decision making that I was doing, and I would do like different like setups. I know TyTy does some like ranger runs now, or we'll mess around and do melee. So I did like similar kind of streams for a while, and then it's hard. It is major time commitment. Especially because everyone thinks you're gonna like do really well. Like I remember, so one day I was just like, all right, I can literally get sub 4 hours on any build, and I did it on Smite Jug, and it was just miserable. I hated the run. I did it in 3 hours and 59 minutes. I actually did get it in sub 4 hours, but it was just it was
on a Smite
brutal.
Jug.
Yeah.
Oh, that doesn't even sound good.
Deathless, by the way.
Ooh. God gamer.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's pretty amazing.
But yeah, that was a cool thing to do, because people would. So that was like, because I had like the benchmarks of like 2 hours for an Act 5 Katava, 4 hours for an Act 10, and then some people like, if you don't really watch streams and you just like play the game and you're like, I'm getting 8 hours Act 10 Katava, like how's 4 hours even possible? And so it's good, like it's really cool that we have streams where people, especially like TyTy, like if someone comes in and asks questions, TyTy will be like, hey, this is how you do this, or this is how you do that.
Yep.
I'm always super impressed with the degree to which TyTy manages to still interact with chat while delivering such a high quality racing performance.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What's that, like? Is that just a talent of yours to multitask,
Not really.
or do you think that racing has just become so integral to who you are and like how you work on the inside that you can just do it automatically while interacting with chat?
No, it definitely hinders my performance. Like I'm thinking of doing the PoE race like partway through the podcast, if that's all right with the team. But it's basically just like I look at chat, and then like while I'm racing, there's lots of moments. There's like nothing to do. You're going somewhere and like you have like 3 seconds to look at chat. I look at chat, I respond to it. It's a bit hard to be entertaining while doing it, but it's just something that I've been working on. Like Zizarin's really good at it. Zizarin plays Soul Stuff on hardcore, and people mean that he does a lot, but the degree to which he interacts with 2,000 people is insane. I look to him for inspiration for stuff like that.
Yeah, I
Yep,
agree.
That is. I feel like the whole chat interaction thing becomes your main job, and then you're racing as best you can while doing that, or
True.
doing whatever it is you're doing the best you can do while making sure you're on chat.
Yep.
Well, sometimes
that's-
you zone out. Like I remember
Mhm.
during the duo race, me and Havoc just were like, we're not reading chat and just put it in our stream title. Me and TyTy actually both have gotten world records while streaming, which at a certain once you realize you're on the path to getting a world record, you just stop reading chat.
Yeah,
Like, wait
pretty
a
much.
second, this time looks okay.
Wait.
Wait a
Yeah,
second.
pretty much.
All right, guys, I'm going up. I'm going up. Going black. No chat, guys.
Yeah. No chat. You need to turn the
No chat.
webcam off.
Yeah, no, for me, it always, like, a lot of times when I die to, always when I die to reading chat, it's because I read chat in a moment where I shouldn't have read chat. So it comes down to knowing the game really well and to knowing the pacing and the rhythm of your run, so that you know when you have a downtime, like a mental downtime where you don't have to pay too much attention to the game, where you can actually do those things. Like a small window where you can do chat interactions.
Pretty much.
Yeah, TyTy probably knows like certain stretches of zones where it's like I can literally just autopilot this and read chat. Like
Subconsciously,
Chamber of
yeah.
Innocence, you could probably just do while reading chat. Like it doesn't even
Yep.
matter.
Pretty much.
Like that's why,
And-
like if you're like farming like Act 1 resets, like you can't even read chat. There's just like too much stuff in Act 1.
Yeah.
Like shut your brain off
Sorry,
and go.
I want to mention I'm not sponsored. I just am thirsty. That's all.
I don't recognize the brand anyway.
It's
That,
not
that
really
just
even
looks
though.
like a metal cup.
Yep, that's what it is. Just a metal cup for water.
Truly metal.
All right.
Man, every time I watch races and hear people who are racers talk, it sounds like so much fun to do all the time.
Yep.
But every time I go and practice, I do so terribly in like 1 or 2 runs, and then I'm like, I can't do this. I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm gonna stop this shit, and then
So-
I just go do something else, and I can't fix that.
So that goes along with sort of my origin story. Was that originally I had a goal, and my goal was to beat my friend to like, I don't know, Malachi, because that was it back then, in Legacy League. And then when 3.0 beta came out, I didn't really care to get faster, but I saw a Dead and Doom VOD, and he was talking through some of his processes and like, here's what I'm looking for. I need this currency for this, and I had a list of stuff that I needed to get and stuff I needed to do. And once I had this list of like, oh, I drop a transmute. I need that here. Look at this. Look at the colors on this weapon. It's insane. Look at that alchemy orb. That's so good to have here. It just becomes like this thrill, and you know, it's been a never-ending ride. Pretty much.
You create your own dopamine rushes.
Pretty much. It feels better to get like a wand craft at level 8 than it does to get like an exalted orb, you know, an end game. In my
Oh, way
opinion, at
better.
least.
Way better.
Yeah. It's night and day difference.
Matter of fact, someone could say the tabula felt too good.
Well, I mean, I'm
Literally,
I'm sorry, I had to do
literally
it.
never get
not gonna
away
argue
from
with that
that.
one. Not gonna argue with it, but
That was fair.
next question, please. Next question.
It's hanging behind you there on the wall, right? Like,
Yes, it is.
awesome.
There it is, dude. Just trying to cover it up. But
It's priceless, dude.
yeah, it is. I'm not selling that for anything. My best possession.
Awesome. So what I wanted to ask next is, Kammell, how did you get from trying to get into Havoc's race and not getting into organizing your own community race events?
I guess those things aren't actually that separate. So I was actually friends with Havoc when he just like didn't message me back. And you know, I had like the right times to get in or whatever. I just wasn't a popular enough streamer, and they had a limitation on how many people could participate because they were streaming. There was a stream requirement for the race. And so when they announced the private league system, I go, okay, well, this is perfect. So we can just set up a race. I'm not going to have a streaming requirement. It's literally just figuring out who is the best racer, like who is the best at whatever thing we wanted to do. And so one of the cool things was when the private league system came out, Rise did a league and Crying did a league. And both those leagues we had spent in Discord, like a bunch of the racers, like Ventura, Gucci, Crying, I don't know, just probably like 20 other people. We were all in Discord together. And I remember saying, like, what if we do a race to like 85 or 90, basically as like a league start simulation? Because everyone loves league start. Like day one of league start is the best for people like us, people who race. And so like, all right, let's do that again. And one of the cool things was I was already friends with all the racers for the most part. And I'm like, we can get people excited about it from getting other racers involved. And so because Gucci was in, Ventura was in, I could get Rise in. And once Rise is in, you get 3,000 viewers, wherever the hell Rise gets. And then once Rise is in, I can get Ziz in, and we just show the list and we'll get people excited about the race. And, people like that race. So we ended up doing another one. And that's kind of how I got into race organizing. And it mainly stemmed from not getting into Havoc's race. I was like, well, I don't want this. This isn't good. Like, just streamers are getting in, like, because then TyTy wouldn't have ever raced. Like, how do you get into something,
Yep.
And so it's just like, we can't just do it as like a popularity contest. We set it up as, if you're good enough, or if you play enough, or if you try enough, you can get into the racing. So I started doing race organizing basically by accident. I mean, I just wanted to do one, and then ended up turning into a bigger thing than I was expecting.
That's amazing. That's how long ago was that? That was
the first race was in November 2018.
Yep.
And so that's like my favorite thing about
not
racing.
Even that long ago.
Like when I retired from race organizing, which was fairly recent, like the number one thing I was like most proud of was like literally like TyTy, Ty, and SteelMage. So like TyTy, his stream is like obviously through his own efforts. I'm not trying to take massive credit for it, but he got bigger from the racing, and that helped him. Same with Steel. Like Steel had just started streaming. He was trying to get partnered. He wasn't a full-time streamer yet. And then in the first race that we did, he had 4K viewers because he won the race. So at the end of the race, he had 4K viewers. And then that was like the thing that propelled him into becoming a full-time streamer. And then Ty obviously got to go to ExileCon, that whole thing.
Popped off, yeah. I mean, I think you deserve like most of the credit, I would say. I think you provided like the platform for which I could be entertaining and like, increase my enjoyment of the game, and other people see that and then they come in and it just kind of like snowballs from there. So thanks for that.
You got successful on your own like talents, obviously. It's just like there wouldn't have been any races. Yep. I mean, maybe someone would have done something. I don't know. Like I ended up being the guy. Maybe someone would organize something, but that was honestly the most happy I was about anything, was just like Ty, and SteelMage. And like those three stories were, I don't know, what can make me look at fondness over the last 18 months or whatever it was of race organizing.
It's gonna make me cry, man.
I mean, that's what they always say about history and like science and politics. Is like if it wasn't for that person, someone else would have done it. But it still takes courage to step up and to actually do it before it becomes a thing, right? Like now we all know, like, if you do races, the community will love it. But at the time when you did it, it was pretty much not so sure. It was a pioneer kind of step.
Pretty much.
Well, there's a lot of things that just like happened by accident. Like I wasn't expecting, like the first race was legitimately the biggest race in PoE history. Like if you look at the people in that race, it's absolutely like every great PoE racer ever, except Crame and like Fraggy. Some of the early people, like everyone was in it. And so I kind of had an obligation to do a second one. And then honestly, like some of the other accidental stuff was just like people I ended up meeting, like Faderon, who runs PoE Racing, and he's done like really cool stuff. Like if you look at like what he did with the method races, like he's helped out community racing so much. The casting tools, all this stuff happened by accident, or just like people other than me's enthusiasm based on my initial enthusiasm, and I could just kind of ride a wave of other people being excited also.
So what made you get from there? Because obviously all of our community racing is huge now. But what made you go from there to decide that you didn't want to keep running them yourself anymore?
Um, I think mostly, well, obviously with anything, once you get enough people, there is a certain amount of drama involved. Um, for any number of reasons, and I try to avoid it as much as possible, but stuff needs to get done, and then you're just like having a conversation with someone you super don't want to have, and I'm like, oh shit, I don't want to do this conversation, so I like will pass it off to like Brittle Knee, or I'll pass it off to TyTy and just be like, I'm good on this. I mean, I started playing other games and wasn't as enthused about racing. Like, it takes a lot of enthusiasm to set this up. Like, because I have to track people down, make sure that people are going to play in it. I have to track the casters down. I always throw the casters a little bit of money, just so they're not like wasting their time or feel like they're wasting their time. I have to donate to the prize pool, and yeah, I have to take VODs and make sure that people are qualifying, and there is a decent amount of work involved, and it just became, I don't know if I have the enthusiasm to do this, on top of the fact that I actually think that racing is in a better place without me, because people had used me as a crutch so that um, they could just say, I don't have to do anything in terms of organization. I can just wait for Kammell to come back and make races. And now, since I've retired, we've seen, 4 different races. Soup
Yeah.
Line's doing a weekly race. We got Brittle's race today. We got Method races. So I think it's actually better for racing that we have people with good enthusiasm doing it, as opposed to me, who is kind of lukewarm to it.
That's fair enough.
Is there
I mean, maybe
any?
TyTy has a different idea. TyTy, do you feel like racing is in a better spot now?
I mean, I like more races. I'm a racer, so getting more races is just cool. I didn't think we'd see as many races. Honestly, when you stepped down, I just thought like, oh well, there'll be one here or there. I'll join the private leagues and that'll be my racing. But I didn't expect we'd actually get like, the Method Rush race or anything like that. Still sad to see you go, but I particularly like Soup Lines races where you run some weekly instead of monthly, so you can see like, because if you practice for something and then it shows up at the end of the month, or start of the month or whatever, and you die, then it's like I got an entire month of like practice, I guess, of nothing to do really. So it feels really weird. I wouldn't say it's better, I wouldn't say it's worse. I think that some people have definitely stepped up and that's been an improvement, but it's the outcome
Well,
is good, but the chance of us landing to where we are now is like pretty slim, I feel like.
I
If
think
that
it's
makes sense.
better, definitely, considering what you're saying. And I don't know if this is getting a little bit ahead of myself, but so one of the major issues with my races was the infrequency of them, and
Mhm.
how good someone could get at one specific format if they were infrequent. So obviously, honestly, like, I love Ty, and I loved what he did for racing. He really showed like how good someone could get at racing, but it actually was an issue how good he got, because the amount of playing you have to do to get that good and to be able to compete with that guy is just like legitimately daunting. I tried to do it for
Mhm.
like 4 months, and you just get to a point where like I just don't have the focus. Like, I can't play 10 hours a day. Like, this guy was doing mob HP totals and mud flats to see which mobs were worth killing. Like,
I remember
it's just
that.
like ridiculous. Like, why would I even? And then you just get to a point where like, all right, I'm not even gonna try. And like a lot of the racers were just like, I know what I have to do to be good, and it's just too much.
Yep. Sounds about
And
right.
like, if races are more frequent, we get weekly races, or we get the method races, which is, I even talking to like Dead and Doom, that's one of Dead and Doom's major issues, is like, so old race seasons you could get good just by playing the race season, because there would be 50 races, and by race 12 you've practiced act 1 through 3 enough to be like decent,
Yeah.
whereas this one you're just like practicing like every single day just for one race a month, where you could die to some desync or some in act 4, and then just be like, all right, I just wasted all of this time.
Yep.
I, I don't even think it's a question anymore. I'm pretty sure everybody actually wants it. But like the difference between GGG putting on races, race seasons, actual race events that they have done at least in the past, and our community ones. Our community ones are always way more organized and way more, I want to say, televised.
Mhm.
But the ones that GGG put on are so much more inclusive of everyone. Like way more people do them and get involved when they do stuff. And I just at this point I just wish that they would get more involved. They keep saying they're going to, or they're working with people, but then at least from the outside it feels like nothing happens. And
So I can let you in on a conversation that me, Chris, and Ziggy had. I think a couple other people were on it, but I don't have to necessarily include them. But so one of the conversations was about racing, and this is like when we were planning the ExileCon race. So we had to set up qualifiers for it. And I tried to get we were talking to Chris about just kind of his general feel of what he likes about my races, because it was pretty obvious that he liked my races. So I was like, what do you like about our races? And he blatantly said that we don't have to take the credit, or we don't have to take the blame if anything bad happens. Like if they're community run races, like you guys can take any blame that if there's a problem with the race, anything like that. And he liked the fact that, and so one of the accidental things we had learned about the races was it's good not having a ton of people playing it, because then they're watching, and then it becomes a more of a spectator event than what's the way that we thought about it. And this could be a little harsh, but there isn't actually a benefit to someone being 1800th in a race as opposed to them just watching the race. Maybe that person's having fun, but it's actually better for racing, or at least this is kind of an idea that we had was, if we're just showing off the 40 best racers and then people are just watching those guys, it was actually good for everyone involved, and then it turned into more of a spectator event. And GGG liked that part of it, like the fact that it was more of a spectator event. People didn't feel like they were gated behind, or they were just playing so that they could get XMTX. So that's kind of also ended up shaping how we established the races as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, back in Legacy League, there was a race season where there were just a series of races for the last couple weeks or something like that. And even though I was studying Ziggy D VODs and old Rise QT VODs, and I was a number 12 ranger in most of these races, it's just kind of fun. But I could definitely see the point where we've grown into a spectator sport where the less people we have, the better almost for a viewing audience, because it's if everybody's super close, then it's we can't keep eyes on everybody. We can't keep eyes on who's rank 1 and who's rank 6, because the top 12 guys are all super close. Right now I feel like we've got a good amount of really good players, and it's just kind of down to consistency and who's better at what type of race format, as far as who we can see on screen at one point in time.
But do you think that the pool of people who are really good is, I mean, don't you think a lot of people could be potentially good at racing, but just because of the barrier of entry of having to become good first in order to partake in a race, not having this button in the client where you can just say, join, there's an event going on in an hour and I start now, doesn't matter how good I am. That's what I really liked about these old race seasons, is that anyone could just, as they log in into their regular league experience, they see, oh, there's an event coming up, I'm going to sign up for that. No matter how I do in it, I just want to check out the race format.
Yeah, 100%. If we could have race seasons back, I would advocate for it. Like Balor said, it shouldn't even really be a question. There was a time where I looked at my phone to constantly check when the next Headhunter race was going to be in Legacy League, and I remember telling my friends hey guys, I gotta go. I gotta watch my brother, man. My parents are going out. I gotta make sure he's safe. I just want to play the Headhunter race. I'm gonna be honest. But yeah,
I've got this real life excuse.
Yeah, exactly. I wasn't good, but it was just something fun, and I feel like a lot of people would kind of do the same thing. Maybe not ditch their friends, but a lot of people would be interested in playing those kind of things, and it's kind of like what Kammell said, or they don't have to have some sort of prize where people are just I guess I have to do the race, otherwise I won't get that mystery box, or I'm just doing this so I can get X reward. that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think like my races, that was like one of the deflating things to talk about them with was because we had the conversation right after the our first 85 race, and that race had our biggest viewership. It was like 65,000 people across like the race participants. Ziggy's stream had when it was at its top viewership 18,000 people watching. So it was like really, really, really popular. And we're like, all right, this is great. Like, this is going to show GGG racing is alive and like they'll do their own races. And then we get on this call with Chris and he's like, we love you guys doing your own races. And I'm like, God damn it.
That is not what the intent was.
No, dude. Yeah, so it was honestly mostly supposed to be a stopgap, but I guess, well, they do like it this way, one, and two, maybe they will do something more in the future because, Chris said they hired someone for racing specifically. So maybe, there's a bright spot in the future in terms of that.
Like I'm definitely not against community organized ones. Like they've been way better organized and televised and better once. I say we took over. I had nothing to do with it, but you know what I mean. Once like the community took over, like once that became a thing. But it's that you don't have the tools to do some interesting things that I would love to see. Like you can't do a Descent Champions. It exists. Descent Champions exist. They can just, I don't actually know how it works, but for the sake of argument, they can just tick a box and say Descent Champions starts today. Like we can't do that. We can't have these different races. We can't do Endless Delve, which should be pretty simple to do, I would imagine. Just be like, nothing costs sulfide anymore. Go. Also, there are no maps.
Yeah.
And then that's it. You're just in Dell. Like, we can't do that. We can't start from Act 3. We can't, or even start from like Act 8 and be like, it's a race to 90. But you start in Act 8 and here's like a template of gear to start with. Boom, go. Like, and those things would be very, very, very interesting to me. And it also means we can't do 10-day events like flashbacks and mayhems and things like that we know have been put together in the past and really aren't coming. If they were going to come back again, we would have one right now. It would be the perfect time. And I get why. They explained why. And I get it. But if they're not going to do things like that moving forward, I would love it if they would give those tools to the organizers who are in charge of stuff. And I don't know if that's crossing a line. I don't know if that's giving them too much control over the product that we don't own. I don't know what the line is that they don't want to cross there, but I don't know if it's just a technical
I know that Kammell has a lot of experience with this, but one of the biggest issues that people have with the community race seasons and stuff like that is that it means that grinding your games doesn't have to do anything. Like we're taking a burden off grinding your games' shoulders, and now grinding your games looks at it and is like, cool, don't have to do races anymore. Camel's gonna do it forever. Brittle's gonna do it. We don't have to do that anymore. I feel like if we had the tools to do so, that would really be like the last point where like grinding your games would be like, do it yourself, man. Hey, man, you got all the tools right there. What are you waiting for? You got the private leagues. You can make a Descent Champions race anytime you want. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's just kind of how I see it. I feel like there's a lot of work internally within the community that have, made some excellent tools and some really nice things that have made spectating a lot more enjoyable. But yeah, it would be really cool if we had more options as a racer.
I mean, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, every single race I've ever announced, there's just like comments of like, this is boring. This is the same race. And you guys think I'm like, do you guys think I just want to do the same shit every time too? Like, I would love to do innovative stuff. Like,
yeah,
I send these guys a list of stuff I would love to do every league, and it just like, I don't know, it doesn't happen, or they have, I don't know. It's hard to say because I've always wanted to do like this most recent race. I mean, this was actually, not part of the reason I retired because it wasn't as like whimsical as like, oh, like I got, they said no to me. But I went to them because I wanted to do an Act 10 Katava, and all this quarantine stuff was going on. I was like, can you set me up a boss kill ladder just so I can do an Act 10 Katava? And they're like, no, we literally don't have enough time. And I'm like, how long could that possibly take? Like 3 minutes? Like, I don't like it's just like
I don't know.
just like
We
basic
don't.
stuff. You're trying to like work with people who, yeah, I don't know. You try to do stuff and it just doesn't get done. And then I'm kind of the fall guy of like, why isn't this race cooler? And I'm like, I'm trying my best.
Kammell, why don't you do an endless delve race?
Yeah,
Why
I
don't you
would
set
love
it
to.
up yeah. I feel like we just don't know enough on grinding your game side of like, would it be as easy as ticking a box? Probably. Is it really though? I'm not a
You know
I don't
what
know.
worries me? I have absolutely no belief in my head that they would lie about it, which means it is more difficult and would take time. Why? It
Well,
sounds like something that should be simple.
right.
It sounds like tick a box, give it to him. But that's obviously not it, because if it was, they would just do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Even while they're under strict time, if it was gonna be, oh, get one guy to go do that, and he goes over there for 20 minutes and sets something up and gives it to you, they would have just done it.
Yep.
So it must be more complicated. But that leads me to go, why? Why is it more complicated? And if those things are more complicated, can we just like put that in at least like a medium priority of like smooth these processes out so that we can start handing people things? Like again, okay, maybe it can't be done right now. We're all in quarantine and it's shit. But maybe we make that like a decent priority over time to get that stuff, like a process in place so that you can just hand out that sort of shit whenever we want. That would be useful.
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, I personally, as a racer, would love exactly what you're explaining. Tools to do stuff, ways to make creative races, all this extra support for racing. But at the end of the day, there's not that many people that are like super into racing. Like there's a dedicated fan base, but there's even less racers, right? Like people who like genuinely want to like improve. Like there's been a few people who've like popped up and popped off, but I think for the most part, it's like a pretty small community compared to the rest of the PoE players. Like if you look at Reddit, like Reddit's a sizable amount of the PoE community, but there's still a decent amount that's like doesn't use Reddit, doesn't use Twitter, doesn't follow streamers. They just play the game, And so what we say might not be the best for the game. But I would love tools. I would love interesting stuff like that. But like you said, there has to be a reason why they haven't done that already. So
on that argument, I have to say though that races maybe are only a part of that, but there's for every game there's like a dedicated hardcore fan base which lays the foundation for other fans to be there, because there's people who make the content, who write the build guides, who make the videos, who inspire people to do more than they're doing in the game. And a lot of people who are playing the game do have someone in the community that they look up to. They're like, I want to farm maps like Cute Dog and juice the currency like so mad, or I want to be as fast as TyTyKiller, right? But or I want to make my builds as durable and as well-rounded as Balor's.
Yep. Yeah, that's pretty true.
Make a Herald stack a kick W.
Yeah.
All I'm trying to say is like, I understand that it doesn't cater to the majority of the audience of the game, but for the player base, it's actually really important that the hardcore audience is being catered to in the terms of doing challenging content, doing engaging like end game challenges, all that sort of stuff. Because if that stuff isn't there, that stuff that the 90% of the player base is never going to see in game anyway, right? But then they don't have anything to aspire to.
It'd be awesome. I would love that kind of stuff. I just think that like as a racer, like not getting like any support, well, very, very little support, I would say. Besides XLCon was awesome. But when they said they're fully committing to racing in 2020, that kind of thing, I just have to imagine they've got something in the works or else I'll get depressed, So I just gotta keep my head high and respect running your games. They're a bunch of dudes that are working hard, so
I do imagine whatever it was they were planning got put on hold recently.
Possibly.
And
yep.
That everyone, there's been a lot of the memeing going around about people quoting that. 2020 will be the year we're going to do these things. And I'm pretty sure they've got some sort of plan.
Yeah.
But that was before the entire world shut down. So that could get pushed back, and that would be reasonable if that
makes
was.
sense.
I mean, we know GGG, right? Like, we know that GGG doesn't like to make a lot of promises or announcements up front unless they know they got it in the bag and they can deliver it, right? I mean, I remember that when I started playing, by the way, Kammell, I also started doing Bloodlines. But at that point, the game was just delivered with desync. Like, that was just part of the game. You would reuse your out of sync macro. You would learn in which situations you tend to desync. You would learn which skill use would resync you with the server, and when to use your OS macro, which you couldn't use all the time because there was a cooldown timer on it, so you'd have to use it sparingly. And you know exactly when to use it. But at that point, no one thought that desync was ever going to be out of the game. And then within like a month or two, they announced lockstep and rolled it out. Like within a couple of months, maybe not longer than half a year. Like they announced it, it got implemented in the update 1.3 or whatever. No, 2.0. I think 2.0 was when lockstep
2.0
came in, and it just worked. And it's the same with a lot of other things where they really keep things under the blankets, under the wraps until they know, yeah, that's going to work. We can roll that out. The people are going to enjoy that. We're doing it. So yeah, like you said, I have to imagine, I have to cling on to the belief that there is something coming for racing, especially because GGG has already like leaked a little bit here and there. They have said the word endless delve in some developer interview. They have said certain things here and there. They said that the battle royale is maybe going to come back eventually. So, knowing how carefully GGG announces things, if they say carefully that it's going to come back eventually and that they'd like it to come back, then I think that means for me it's coming back for sure. Just we don't know when.
I will give Chris a lot of credit for when he says something, he is extremely vague. So I'm talking to him about a system.
He's so good at that, even in person.
We're having a conversation with him, and it was like, yeah, like me, Ziggy, and I think Havoc, and we're like, he says this really cool idea for racing, and we're like, great. When do you think you guys are gonna have that out? He's like, end of year, probably 2019. I'm like, awesome, and it is not out. And he's like, don't hold me to that. I'm like, okay, perfect. I should not hold you to that. So maybe 2021, 2022. I don't know. But he has really cool ideas. He has like stuff that apparently someone's working on, but I don't know how far along any of that is. Especially like, Balor said, I think they are in a very difficult situation with the quarantine, being able to get work done.
Yeah. I think technically restrictions got lifted, but I don't know if they actually went back. I wouldn't have.
Well, here's another thing also that's an issue is like if you're talking to Chris and then you're like, we would love a boss cut ladder that we can just add any league. And he's like, yeah, I think we could do that. Like that shouldn't be too hard. And then like you hit him up like 2 weeks later, like, what's up with that boss skull thing? He's like, so I have some bad news. I talked to a guy and he's like, that's not easy. And we don't have dev time because X League's coming out. And I'm like, oh no.
Yep.
And yeah, 18 months go by and nothing happens.
So
pretty much.
All right. So without our tools, I keep thinking it's really hard for people, streamer or not, to get into racing if you're not already decent. So that brings the question of, all right, I'm trying to figure out how to suggest this without it. Well, I don't know if this will be a good idea.
Okay.
So if it's shit, tell me.
All right.
Right. So I keep thinking that I would like a race every now and then, like probably like once or twice every, like, I guess, season of races that we do, that can't be entered by anyone who's ever won first. To see what happens and how many new people are interested and get involved as soon as, if you've ever won first, you can't go in this race anymore, sort of like a second string thing. Because I think a lot of people that are nearly there, but are like, I'm not going to be able to get up to first, don't bother. Because they're like, I'm not going to be able to come in there and beat first. But if you take out everyone who's won first and you get basically the second string, you'll get those people competing with each other very heavily. You'll suddenly motivate the people that would have just been a little bit shy to practice their shit for like a week straight before the race. And then perhaps by the time they look at that and win it, they're like, you know what? I can get involved in the next real race. That was actually a fantastic time.
That's always something that I wanted for the race seasons, that there would be like a sort of tier system or like a weight class system for racers. I mean, obviously there's some issues with like keeping your class purposefully low so that you can win within your class. But the idea of having competition within your range, like realistic competition that you can beat, that is appealing, I think, about racing. When you're grouped together with people who are at about the same level as you are.
I'm going to be a little easier, and I'm going to be honest. If I can't play a race on my main account because I won a race in the past, I'm just going to Smurf. Yeah, I'm gonna Smurf, and so will a lot of other racers. You know, I'm evil in this regard. You know, is it ruining racing if I were to do that? Maybe, but I mean, I just want to race. I'm going to be honest. Like, I don't want to like roll up as a professional NBA player and like dunk on some kid who's, Make-A-Wish Foundation is to play basketball and play with me or something. But, like, I'm not going to go that far. But for the most part, I think that a lot of people, particularly the winners, would just be like, hey, do you want to play in this race, but play with like one hand? Like, I could see Chip and me just doing some dumb stuff. Just like, hey, man, you want to play in this race? But we only use default attack or something like that.
Well, obviously there'd have to be measures in place that disencourage that sort of kind of behavior, so that you couldn't do your main account race and that race at the same time because they're happening at the same time. So you'd have to pick: are you going to do a race where you're not against challenging opponents but you can get an easy win, or are you going to do a race where you have actual competition? Obviously, you can't completely prevent that, but you can disincentivize, right? Like especially if you're talking about it in terms of a race reward system over a long season.
Yeah, that's true. I think the best motivator though, outside of like what we could do, is just like I said, like I just wanted to be my friend, man. Like everybody plays the game, and nobody's like really. Not many people are like racing to Kitava. They're racing to beat their friends, right? They're racing to like get more exalts than their friends. They're racing to like I got the 6-link before you did, homie. Like that. that's why a lot of people like continue to play the game, right? It's a communal thing. Maybe you only have like one friend you talk to. There's only one person in your guild that you talk to. That's okay, A lot of people will just take that as competition. Be like, hey man, I got 487th in the race, but you got 542, so I'm better than you. I think people are naturally inclined to like be competitive in that sense, and not too many people will look at it and be like, wow, I can hit rank 1 in this race where it's a race for silver players or for bronze players. I'm not, maybe I'm wrong on that, but personally I feel like a lot
Wow.
really get rank 10.
Am I out or did we lose him?
No, everything works.
Right,
can you repeat that last sentence, TyTyKiller, please?
I was just saying that, like, I don't feel like most people will like be super jazzed to get like rank 1 in some bronze or silver race, and not many people are gonna be like, wow, I beat them by getting a 2-hour 20-minute Act 5 Kitava. I'm ready to race with the big boys kind of thing. I feel like there are a lot of like motivators like internally that like we just can't really do anything about. Maybe it would be really good, but like I said, you'd have to have deterrence.
Well, I think I think what Balor is saying isn't all that necessary, honestly, because I think the biggest problem with racing, and this is a conversation we had, is I could have made racing infinitely better if I had like infinite money, or like there, I don't know, like, or if GG just kind of gave me the green light to do whatever I wanted. Because what Balor's saying would be fixed if we had more races, because then even if TyTy is playing in every single race, like there isn't this like 1 month once every month structure of like you have to be good or else you're gonna look ridiculous racing TyTy to 85, and then it's such a long race that it's a problem. Like I would have loved to do short race seasons, like Method Rush Race. One of the cool things about those guys signing with Method is Method actually has like enough money. Like I invested like $600 or something into the class race that I did once, which is called like a demi race, and I'm like that I just spent $600 so everyone could play in a race when like I should just be able to do this. Like everyone had fun, people loved that race. Like it was a fun race. Like it was good for PoE, good for GGG. But I can't do it just because I'm not going to spend $700, $600 every single race just so people can play in it. So I think the biggest barrier of entry is just like we're trying to help you, GGG and PoE, to grow, and people like this racing stuff, and it's like a fun event. It's a cool event, and yeah, I got to be behind this $700 paywall so I can invite all these people to this race just because they want to play the game and have fun.
Yep.
And I think it would fix racing if we didn't have that kind of a pay structure. Just for, I don't know, there needed to be like a race system so that I understand why they have the paywall for private leagues, kind of. But I don't get why like we can't put together this kind of short race season with all these people involved, just so they can enjoy the game.
That's a good point. I always considered myself reasonably happy with when they announced private leagues, I thought it was a great addition to the game, and I like even though it's very basic functionality, but I like the idea of being able to do your private leagues, but they haven't really expanded on that at all in the last 28 months, something like that, 30 months almost.
No, it's been like 19 months. The private league system came out 1 month before I started races. So it's been 19 months, I think.
Okay, yeah, then it's not that many.
But even so, it's just I don't know. Like, I take a certain amount of like criticism from people who are like, why can't X be better in racing or Y? And I'm like, I can see the solutions. Like, I'm not an idiot, but I just, I'm not going to spend $600 a month so everyone can play in a race. Like, it's just, I'm a pretty like, I care about racing and I love racing, or I was more into it then, but yeah, I don't feel like it should be that expensive to put on a race, and unfortunately it is.
Yeah, you automatically pay for 10-day leagues, is what you're saying basically, and if it was a tenth of the price for a 1-day league, then it would be much more feasible to do.
Yeah, I mean the biggest issue is like the amount of players we can get in, because like we would love to have like 2,000 people every race. Like even though it's a spectator sport for top players, like we would love for people to get involved. There's tons of people who would like love to just race in these and be like, wow, I'm playing with Havoc, and even though Havoc's 12 zones ahead of me, I'm in the same race as him, and he's my hero, man. Like that would be awesome if we could get more people in, but it costs so much money to have just people who will like get to Act 2 and quit because they're bored, they're tired, they just wanted to race Act 1. I don't know, but like we saw that a lot in the class race, the demi race that Kammell ran, where like we invited like literally the maximum amount of slots as people were allowed to be in, and there were a bunch of people who just like didn't want to finish it for whatever reason, this or that.
I mean, the people who played it still had a good time though, especially because like you're competing in your own class. I really enjoyed that race. I wish I could have put on more of them, but yeah, there was just this giant paywall involved, and people would be like, why don't you just ask them to lift the paywall for your races? And I'm like, I don't know, that always became like an ethical issue, because to me, like, what's like the line of demarcation? Like, what makes my races more important than Catmaster? You have a private league. Like, why are my races more important than your private league? Why shouldn't they lift the cost of your private league? Like, same with,
because I'm streaming as well, and I'm promoting the game just like you are.
Right. No, that's what I'm saying. Is like anyone could then. I mean, anyone could be able to argue for a free private league, a free race. So there wasn't anything specifically important about me. So I never felt comfortable being like, hey, can you guys pay for this? The only time I felt comfortable telling them to pay for something was when I did the ExileCon qualifier. That's because I
Exactly.
specifically had to put on a race for their event. And they're like, well, yeah,
Yep.
that's fine, like whatever. But yeah, I don't know. It just wasn't. It never made sense to me why my races should. I don't. Yeah, I kind of feel like all private leagues maybe should be free, but I don't know what kind of money they get from them. So
Probably a lot.
yeah, I don't know. Probably, yeah, probably.
I
But
mean, like,
yeah,
there's
that was
always
one of the biggest barriers. Was just
there's
like
like
the
the
cost.
Ziz Steel League, like at the end of the league, and so it's like, you know, good amount of money from that for running gear, I assume. So
I mean, yeah, I don't think people realize though. Like, I've been a part of like, or I've talked to Ziz. Like, Ziz has paid the full 2,000 participants of a private league, and I don't think people like have actually calculated how much money that is.
What is that for like 10 days?
well, he
I
puts it in for like a month because it's
probably
always
like
for
what,
like
like
the last month.
$800 or something.
I
It's
haven't done the
it's pretty
calculations
nuts.
myself. The
We
first
have-
few people have to put in their own money. I get in for free because I'm a racer, but I always pay for my slot because I just feel like I just feel awful if I don't.
Starting a private league with 10 slots and 10 days is 120 points, which is the equivalent of $12. And then every other 10 player slots cost 60 points, which €6 or dollar. And every 10 days cost also 60, I think.
Yeah, sounds about right.
That's pretty nuts if you think about it. Like, 10 players, you want to have 300 players. That's really quickly like $180 if I'm correct, right? 3 times 10, yeah. So
I mean,
That's a
so
lot.
I mean, and then we talk about like what we were talking about with racing earlier. If you wanted to be in a situation where like you loved the old, race system, you loved like I'm racing every 6 hours. Like that was the crazy thing about the old race system is like you literally wouldn't sleep during race season. You would like, or you would like circle like I hate endless ledge. I get to sleep. Thank God I'm sleeping this 6 hour block right here. And then I have to be up for XXX these times, and it just turned into this whole thing. But like you couldn't even, I don't know, like the race system currently, you couldn't do something like that just because it's like so expensive. Which is
I
partially
remember
why we
doing that
turned into like
too.
invite only.
Just being like, all right, I'm going to be up for these 22 hours. Then there's a 4-hour period where I need nothing. Then there's 16 more hours of races that I want to get involved in. And then those 2 races in a row I don't want. That's 6 hours I can sleep. That's
Yeah.
fantastic. I'd be like,
The
right,
best
that's
is when you get
sleep.
like
And then back up.
the 3 a.m. cutthroat, and you're like, oh, thank
Ooh.
God I can sleep through this 3 a.m. cutthroat.
No,
league.
they're my favorite.
I
Oh,
love Cutthroat.
everyone had their
Cutthroat is
own
my
thing they didn't like,
absolute
right?
favorite.
I hate that shit.
I didn't play cutthroat. See, it's like, what did you skip, Baylor? Like, what was your thing that you skipped?
Usually people hate it when I say this. Usually Descent Champions.
Oh, that was the best. Come on.
Yeah, I know. Everyone loves that one. But the reason I skipped it is because I never did well on it. And I had more fun doing things like cutthroat races. And so I was just like, you know what? I'll sleep through Descent Champions. It's fine.
Yeah, we could talk about our favorite races. I only got to play in the legacy races, so it was pretty short. But I really liked Headhunter. I liked all of them. I'm gonna be honest. I really liked
Uber
Endless
Beyond.
Ledge.
Uber Beyond's good. Uber Beyond is so good.
I actually feel like Cutthroat is my favorite though, and I think that it'd be one of the most interesting things to see now. Like imagine like Den, Doom, and Havoc are racing and they're in the same zone and they go and try to PK each other for
It
each
would be
other's gear.
horrible.
It would be the
Yeah.
most
The best.
awful,
Dude,
greatest.
you just
best
get
thing,
hit by a
worst
storm
thing
brand
ever.
and then you die in like 0.1 seconds.
Yeah, I mean somebody arc mines you off screen, but like, hey, you could have done that first. You know what I'm saying?
I guess.
I mean, they could always, if you do something like that, just put a little bit of PvP scaling in it. Be like, okay, all skills only do like 10% of the
You
damage.
know how mad
against
people
players.
probably got? Because you just be like chilling, doing this cutthroat race, and then you get to lower prison, you get freeze pulsed by some dickhead like halfway across the screen that you didn't even see.
How is that different
the
from a
best
regular
part.
cutthroat experience?
What?
Oh,
People getting mad is the best part.
I
Yeah,
know.
that's true.
I wasn't particularly fast, but I got to Dry Lake in one of those races, and killing someone there was it's unparalleled, man.
The
course I was
first
there.
friend I made in PoE racing was from a cutthroat race.
What?
I was like streaming during the cutthroat race, and then Freak came into my stream. My first stream follower is Freak. If you guys know Freak,
Yeah,
he's just like
lab
I don't even. I don't know how to describe Freak to someone who doesn't know him. Just like a complete weirdo. Like if you ever buy anything in like a trade league from some guy who's just selling like 500 fossils, like yeah, I don't know.
You know
But
what
yeah,
kind of
Freak
person
was my
they are.
first friend. And you know who actually my second friend in PoE racing was Tower. Because me and Tower, like exactly what TyTy was talking about earlier. So like me and Tower, so you used to have these like Blamped races, which was like them and like
those
the
are my second
Exile
favorite.
Everywhere races were like the only party races during the race season, right? There would be like random
Blamp was
party
so
ones.
good.
So me and Tower were like 9th and 8th in like the Headhunter race. And so Blamp was coming up and we're like just message each other randomly. I'm like, hey, like I don't have anyone to play with. Do you have anyone to play with? And so we just started playing together. Even though he lives in like Eastern Europe and I live in California.
Yeah, that's what I like about Push and Ladder is that you just make friends with some of the other people. Like a lot of my friends are just people I met like on Ladder. A lot of like back in there's some flashback league. I think it was second to last one before Synthesis. I was just playing my Alquizis Righteous Fire, and there's this dude ahead of me who was just popping off, and he was playing a different build. But we just struck up a conversation. We just typed to each other just like every day, like, "Hey man, how's the grind going?" You know, it's just good fun. I don't know.
That's how I know everyone. Dude, that's like how Duck Squad formed. It's like all of the top 10 of SSF hardcore every league.
Yep, pretty much.
Just like Ventura and me are like top 3. We just start messaging each other like, dude, what are you doing? And then we start like faking each other out. Like, what's going on, dude?
Yeah.
Start talking to Steel. Yeah, that's how you just like we ended up meeting people in PoE, like just like who's with you on the ladder.
Yeah.
My brain is struggling to remember all of the things that were in Blamp. Is blood magic lethal?
Ancestral,
Yep.
multi-proj, and turbo.
Right. Yep. That's the one.
Mhm.
God, that was a good race. That
I
was
hated
so
painful.
rough.
The worst is ledge because the archers would just like multi-proj you from like 9 million meters away and you're just dead.
Yeah.
The trick is to stand around the corner with SOS.
Yeah, you just play SRS. That's why I would like watch people and I'd watch
it
like
was like-
Dead and Doom was like, how are you sundering in the Blamped race, dude? I don't even know how you're alive.
God gamer.
I remember only having 3 people to play with. It wasn't even a full party. And it was just decoy totems everywhere. It was just as many. Everyone has a decoy totem. Decoy totems go out first. We hide around corners. Decoys.
Well, because you
That
couldn't
was
even
an
do
insane
Blamped
race.
race anymore. Because like so back in the day, once you got by Brutus, you're like, all right, this race is like over, dude. I killed Brutus. I can finally because Brutus was like impossible. You need like 30 TPs. Like you just have to decoy immediately, like decoy off cooldown.
Yeah, he hooks you once, you're dead.
Like, could you imagine doing Blamped Mervale now? It would be
I
literally.
was just thinking the exact same thing.
Dude, Blamped Mervale is just death.
We were just
instantly.
talking about it yesterday on Aphelian's stream. It's like Merville is so scary now, and it's exactly the kind of PoE I want to see more of. It's just the struggling in a boss fight. Oh, it's so fun.
Well, Blamped Mervale would be impossible.
Close, yeah.
You just farm ship graveyard or something. I don't know.
Yeah, you'd be over leveled by like 6 levels and res capped and everything before you even went in there.
Yeah, you do the secret Fairgrave strap, but can't talk about that one.
Whoa, dude.
I'm just saying, if there was a Blamp race, got some strats in mind.
You can see that content in the future on twitch.tv/TyTyKiller.
All right, stop, dude.
Underscore.
Yeah.
Tease there. I like that. This guy's content oriented now.
That's right. I'm farming content. I learned that one from Havoc.
Dude, Blamp. Oh, man. I can't believe I just thought of that because it's going to ruin my night.
Made my night better thinking about how the fact we don't have it. I'm gonna be honest. I don't like that kind of race. I'm the only one here, but I like going fast. I like killing monsters.
Oh, I hated Blamped. I'm with you, dude. I'm with you. I hated Blamp. I never liked Blamped. I liked Exiles everywhere. I didn't like the party races because I didn't have any friends who were good. I had Tower, who was like literally Eastern Europe, and then the party races were really hard because you would just see like Moors, Hellman, and Waggle like 50 levels ahead of you, and you're like, "What the hell is going on, dude? How are these guys so good?"
That's pretty much what the first camel race was like for me, and the second one too, I guess.
Oh yeah, the first and the second one.
Yeah. It's just like, oh, I'm playing with the big boys. Look at them. Slash the ladder. I'm 20 levels behind. Cool. But I'm with them, you know.
Dude, the first race I did was like such a fun and hard. So I'm in Discord for the whole 90 race with Dead and Doom and Rise, the biggest bitchers about RNG you could possibly play with in your life. Like, this guy Rise was like, I can't get anything good, and then he 5 fusings a 6-link, and I was just, dude, I wanted to quit the race. I was so mad. Like, just like constantly, just like, who's bitching about RNG this time? Oh, it was and by people who are ahead of me. Dude's first on the ladder, the other guy's third, and I'm 7th, and I'm just like listening to RNG bitching the whole time. Oh man.
Well, Dead and Doom's really good at that though. Every single race he has, even if he could be like a good like 6 minutes in front of the next person on a 1-hour race, and he'd still be like, RNG was so bad, I couldn't get anything. And you're like, this is the best time you've ever had. What are you talking about?
I get that way sometimes. I feel the same way every now and again. I'm gonna be honest. Dead Doom's right.
It makes me sad Dead and Doom doesn't like care about racing anymore, because he's just so unbelievably good at the video game. Like, I don't know, like I remember like Ty and me would talk about it, just like if he practiced, he would be the best racer by far. He's unbelievable mechanically. I
talked about it before where like, thank goodness Dead and Doom doesn't practice like that often, or he just beat me and show me up like every single time. Still a spotlight, you know. But I mean, like more recently, you can kind of see him. Like he's just doing well, like no matter what the format.
Yeah, if he just plays the game a little bit, he's just like better than you already, and it's just like, all
Pretty
right,
much.
dude.
All right, I guess I just lose then. Dead and Doom's in the race.
Yeah.
And he practiced.
God gamer, dude. I think he's the best. Him or Kramer are probably the best racers. 2 best racers ever.
What about Ty? Where does he fit in there?
Ty's really good. It's just like you can't possibly compete with that level of commitment. I just mean like mechanical skill. And then if Cream and Ty, or if Cream and Dead and Doom put in that much time, they probably would have been
better than Ty.
Maybe even slightly better. Although
I can't comment on it.
The amount of practice that you put in is like a skill, right?
Yep.
So it's just like Ty ended up playing in a very specific time where like practicing was more important than anything. So like those guys didn't really have to get as good as like Ty had to get. But even Ty would have told you, like, if Dead and Doom practice, like Dead and Doom's winning. Like, it's just the guy's like ridiculous. He's just incredibly good. He just doesn't care. So you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to worry about him practicing.
Yeah, no.
That's why TyTy can keep getting these fake rank 1s.
Woo! Easy. Havoc's not playing. Dead Doom's not. Hey, nice race, boys. Yeah, but I got Chip and I got XL now. They're my rivals, so
yeah. Exile's good, dude. I don't know. I feel good about I feel good about racing. I hope more people like Exile get into it. It seems like Soupline's like pretty jacked about it, and it's weird to like get people who are like randomly very enthusiastic, because it's just like a tight knit group of people. That's why like even TyTy, like you're like, oh, there's a new guy. It's exciting.
I mean, I'll be an old guy before you know it. I'll be 28, retired.
Yeah,
you're
a boomer. Look at you. Yeah, you're gonna be
me.
That's the second time somebody on this show has said 28 is old, and I'd like to stop with "fuck you." I'm fucking 32. Calm down.
Well, just TyTy's looking at me and he sees his future.
Yeah, pretty much. That's where I'll be, when I'm no longer able to race. That's all right.
No
It's
longer
so
able to
old.
race.
Shit.
I'm joking, by the way.
Just like it's old. Here's the thing: is like Dead and Doom is 18, which means everyone knew him when he was like 13, and then you
Yeah.
are like, damn, I'm 28. Like this guy is old, like because everyone knows him. But
Comparatively.
he's only 18.
Yep.
It's just like weird to think about.
I remember he won some race at some point, and I was sitting there thinking, is he even legally allowed to get paid?
The China race.
Like, are they allowed to pay him? Is he old enough to? Is he old enough to get paid?
The funny thing is I remember when we were setting up the ExileCon qualifier, I talked to Dead and Doom about it, and he's like, dude, if I win this, I can't even go. Like, I'm not 18. I was like, oh, man. That was crazy.
Now
that
that
ExileCon race had to be so fun, dude.
Yeah. Go ahead, Catmaster.
Oh no! Please, let me know your thoughts, because I was gonna try and progress the conversation into on a different axis.
We can go ahead and switch axes here if you want.
Well, the China race has been mentioned, and I think that's a good. I think that's, out of all the things that we have on the list, is the most important to talk about. I think, because it's recent and it's a pressing thing. Well, it was an organized event organized by Tencent, who is the company who does PoE for the Chinese market.
If I understand it right, it was organized by a Chinese guild, and Tencent just supported.
Yeah, I don't think it was organized technically by Tencent. I think it was like I don't know if it was a guild or like a separate company.
Yeah, it was like privately organized.
Yeah.
And then Tencent gave them support and were the intermediary between that group of people, that guild or organization or whatever it was, and our people, handing us accounts and stuff like that so that they could get into the race. But it was a privately organized and funded race that just Tencent supported.
So the prizes didn't come from Tencent. The massive prize pool that we had there was privately.
It was all private.
Organized.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Tencent race was one of those things where, like, for me, it was cool to watch, but I would never play in that kind of thing. Like,
you don't
200
want
ping,
okay.
200 ping, the mobs are like 4 times harder or something like that. Like, to me, that's not enjoyable. I don't enjoy races like Blamp. I don't enjoy races where mobs are intrinsically like a lot harder. This is just my personal
having
opinion.
like a group self-found coming up. Like,
Yeah,
would you
I heard
play in
about
those races? Because I felt the same way. Because when they hit me, because I was asked if I want to play in it, and I'm like, I don't want to play in 200 ping on this hard of a game. Like, then you just like play like Necro and just like autopilot your way to like whatever level you get to.
Yeah, I mean, I would be interested to play. I actually, before the Tencent races, I actually emailed GGG saying, "Can I join the Tencent like realm? Like, they have races over there, and we don't have anything over here. Like, before the method race, like just sitting around, basically not doing anything. It's like, honestly, could I just play in the Chinese races? And they're like, you'd have to ask Tencent about that. And then method race came up, so I kind of stopped. And then the Chinese Tencent race came up, and that was really cool to watch. But yeah, I mean, if there was like some other, like, I would have loved to play in the Headhunter race, but I didn't want to be like, hey guys, I know I said I didn't want to play, but could you give me an account, please? Because you can't just use your regular PoE account. You have to use a specific whole setup with that. So, but yeah, I would have loved to play in some of the more fun events that they've got going on for like the next month, I assume.
But you've been closely following the event itself.
Yeah, that's just so.
Well, I think that was the worst part about the China race was all the racers were like, why don't we have this? Like, every racer just bummed out. Like, why do we have to play in the Chinese realm for us to be able to have like they just have someone who cares over there, I guess. I don't know.
Pretty much.
Yeah. That was I really feel a little bit bad because just for GGG, because I know there was a lot of complaint about like, hey, like
Good.
like they've taken your game and done stuff that you've not been able to do for us.
Yeah, it's good.
They're just like, what's going on? What's going on? They can do that, so let's do that.
Yeah, you
And
can't like
not
copy
just-
paste some stuff and bring it over.
Not just
know,
like-
the races themselves, but also the insane, like, there's some really, really deep going changes to the game itself, right? There's, I didn't follow it very closely. I watched a little bit Rise here and there. I watched a little bit Carve. But from what I've seen, there is a pet that you can buy that picks up lower currency for you. You get to see your ascendancies when you pick your character. Like before you pick your character, you know what it can ascend to, which is especially cool for newer players. And there is like quest reward account bound currency that you can use to craft your gear early on.
Yeah, there's also like quest rewards you get, just like you kill Hillock, and it's like here's 4 transmutes. Like in a race that'd be insane. I wouldn't have to worry about, the RNG of like, can I get enough transmutes, or like will I be dry for a little bit? Like in the Dominus race earlier, I was like, I'm just missing, this one bit of currency, and I just gotta, wait a little bit longer before I can get my level 20 craft. It's gonna happen, but I can't get it 100% of the time unless I like, really focus in on it. There is something to be noted about consistently there, but like I could go so much faster if I just like didn't have to pick up like most of the rare items on the ground, because it's just like I don't need them. What do I need them for? There's no ults, there's no transmutes.
Yep.
So if that's better for racing, I don't know. Are loot pets better for racing? I don't know. I feel like they're 2 different clients and 2 different worlds.
Well, there's certainly some things that would just be raw improvements to the game, like the skill tree planner. Let's go about that.
Yeah.
Like you're able to pre-plan your skill tree, and then whenever you level up, you can just press a button to advance in that pre-planned skill tree. If I understood correctly.
Yeah, there's certain things where it's like
think
there's
that's how
no
it works.
reason for us to, not have this like the little skill tree planner. But there are other things that are a little bit more nuanced. So like the loot pets, for example. When I play this game and it's a league start and I have like I'm clocking in over 100 hours a week, I'm having a blast, but my wrists are not. And so loot pets would really help out with that. But at the same time, you introduce a problem where like in Diablo 3, they made it so that the little currencies you pick up on the ground, so like the Desperate, the Forgotten Souls, all the crafting currencies, you would just pick them up just by being near them. And it was super quality of life. Everybody really enjoyed it. But looking back on it, I never felt like the currency was meaningful in any way, shape, or form. Like it was just a number that went up, and then like at the end of the day, when I had like 5,000 death breaths, it was like, all right, I guess I go crafting. Like, at the end of the day, you walk away and you're like, well, I automatically picked up 500 chaos orbs, and that's just what happened. There wasn't any significance behind it. I didn't feel good doing it. It was just my pet picked it up, and the number got higher. That's how I feel about it. Is it just becomes autonomous, and it is inherently more meaningless. I would say less meaningful, I suppose.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't want the loot pet. If it came to us, I wouldn't be super upset about it. Like I'd just adjust, but I don't think that. But the other things that, especially the bound currency thing. So I could be wrong, but how that works entirely is any chaos recipe, chaos is bound. So if you do the chaos recipe, that's bound. You can't use it to trade. You can only use it on your own account. And then any currency at all that you find while leveling before maps becomes bound. Now that means a few things. I don't know what it means specifically for racing, but I know
just a quick
lot of
remark there. That also applies to the items that you craft with the currency that's bound. Like the items that you
Yes.
craft become account bound as well the moment you use account bound currency to craft them.
Yeah, which does a few things though. I don't know about racing specifically, but one, it does not stop it, but it does cut down on bots in the trade league doing chaos recipes. That is huge. Your exalts will be worth
A lot more.
a lot less and less chaos.
The exalts will still be
chaos
worth
will be worth
exalts,
more.
just the chaos will
Chaos-
be worth
chaos
more,
will
so
be worth-
you'll
It
get
would be
a
worth
smaller sum.
less numbers of chaos orbs, but the chaos orbs would be more meaningful, so that your exalts would be more impactful. I guess they would, like Kevin said, they'd be like equally important. So
And then also new players, it introduces them to crafting and using currency for its actual intended purpose really early with almost no downside whatsoever because you're not losing anything. These aren't tradable things. You have to use them. And whatever you've got left over when you get to maps, you're just going to use them to roll maps. Because it doesn't matter if your map becomes a bound currency. You're just going to throw it in the map device, launch it, and find stuff in there, right? So it, for a player, it doesn't really have a big negative effect, except maybe when you find an exalt while leveling. What happens if you find a mirror while leveling? I'm a little interested in that. Does that become a bound mirror? If it does, I don't know. I guess fuck that guy. I don't know. Whoever finds a mirror while
Use it for a
leveling.
mirror service.
Sounds like you're having two 3-link wands, Ty.
Ooh.
Dude, you ever think about like
that ring?
that's the funniest
Yes.
thing. We've always
Wait.
talked about like what happens with a mirror if it drops in a race. Like, what do you use it on?
A ring, dude.
I'm mirroring
ring,
my
yeah.
wand, dude.
Maybe
Obviously.
you got a nice wand craft. You augment, you regal, you slam, you mirror it. I don't know. Just saying.
Would you mirror something in a race if you thought it was going to make a difference between you winning and losing?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
If you had such a powerful
100%.
ring and a mirror dropped, and you thought this ring is so good, it could push me further,
Yeah, it wouldn't even be a question.
you wouldn't even hesitate at all. You
if
just straight up
nothing
slam
for
it?
the clip, it's just such a good
Yeah,
clip.
exactly. Imagine on Reddit, like somebody
Immediately.
just mirrors like some garbage wand. It's got like T4 flat to spell, but it's just like, check this out, you guys, mirrored. Like I don't know. I would less about the content, but like currency, in my opinion, just doesn't really matter. I get currency at the start of the league. I get Headhunter, I get a mirror, and then I'm bored in a week. And so I've looked at doing like things like hardcore soul Stuffbound just because I chase currency and then I get bored of chasing currency. It's always like this just goal of mine to have fun and get money, get paid, and then you just have too much of it, I guess. Sorry, that sounds like I'm bragging a lot here, but the money in trade leagues, like it'll go away after 3 months. What I'm gonna do with it, sit in as standard, I break money all the time. So
This relates
That's
back
one
to
thing.
the. Please, Kammell, you first.
I was gonna say one thing about the China realm that pissed me off was so they're not allowed to have blood in their game, right? So I'm watching like Gucci do Malachi. I'm like, God damn it, you can actually see things because every mob in the game is like purple, red, or brown, and so when you see the game without blood, you're like, dude, you can actually like see the environments and like effects that are going on. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like it actually infuriated me when I was watching it. There's like a lot more
We need
visual clarity.
We need a censored button to like tick on our client to be like, blood offends me. Please hide it.
That would actually be
Just-
OP.
Just
that
so
would
that I
be
can.
all the racers would just tick. A
I
colorblind
would
mode
tick
comes
that
out and
today.
it increases clarity. Tick. I'm colorblind now.
Family-friendly stream. Oh.
Yeah.
No, it relates a little bit back to the Destined Champions. Why that I thought was so good was because you're also handed. It was always voided. You were also handed exalts and mirrors in the end, and you had to use it on your gear. Like there was nothing else to do with it, right? You couldn't take it into the parent league, so you just slam away at the shittiest leveling gear that you had, and it was so much fun to actually use currency for its intended purpose, rather than looking at it and like, wow, if I trade with that, it will mean much more to me than anything else I could do with it.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a bunch of, not a bunch, but there's been quite a few cases where like I drop an exalt in a race and I'm just like, slam the gloves, boom, plus 12 mana. That's where it is. That's 12 more mana than I had before previously. Like it doesn't matter to me.
Speaking of race crafting, I also saw that insane clip of you in the Scissorin Bow League where you regaled that bow.
Not to brag or anything, but I did craft a +3 bow gems 6-link bow. Oh no, it was a 5-link.
It dropped as a 5-link
5 minutes
base.
later, 5 minutes later, I drop a 6-link, and then I chrome it perfectly with Varici craft. Hey, it was a pretty good 7-hour run. What can I say?
Can you believe it? Not to brag, but I got super lucky.
Yeah,
No
not to brag
skill
or anything,
involved.
but nah, dude. Like, could you have done? Have you done that before?
Have you ever had such insane luck?
That's what I thought.
That's true. I've never had that kind of luck. All skill, that luck.
Yeah.
He did drop 3 combs in a week though, so hey, hats off.
I vendored all 3 of them, by the way.
Yeah, it's pretty much what I do with rare uniques anymore.
All
After
3
the-
got vendored.
After the tabula incident, I like to think about how I can use them, and then like in practice, I'll just think about it, like think about how I'd use this item. Or
which one of my gear pieces could use a divine orb?
Yeah, pretty much.
I've told
That's all I
TyTy
remember.
the story. So when we were getting ready for the method group self-found race, it was me, Gucci, Crying, and Ty. So Ty drops a mirror and doesn't say anything, but would randomly go to people's zones and just like he went to Gucci's delve, just dropped the mirror on the ground and picked it up in front of him. Like he just like kept trolling us with the mirror that dropped. Oh, that's so good.
That's good
Group-
until somebody yoinks it from under
That's
him.
actually one of the sadder things about PoE to me is that it's become like so, especially with like racing, like league start, how there's a softcore race and that's cool with group play, but I feel like a lot of like the streamers play SSF hardcore, but group play in PoE is just so fun. Like all the group races we've done, when me and Havoc did duo runs, like practicing for group races are a lot of fun. Like I don't know, I just wish there was more of a I don't know, yeah, I wish group racing was better.
Yeah, I agree. I played with MP's group, so Dampen didn't carry Empyrean Gaming's group, and so I gotta, they just asked me if I wanted to do it, and I said, yeah, sure, why not? Did some practice runs, and it wasn't like super try hard. We weren't like trying to be the best or make the most money or pop off. We're just trying to have fun, and honestly, it was like what Kammell said, like it was just so much fun, and it was like, would I have more fun playing solo? Probably not. I'm gonna be honest.
Especially practicing. Like practicing as a group is so much more fun. Like when me and Havoc are practicing for a duo race, it's just like because when you're practicing solo, like Ty was doing like 12 hours a day. And Ty like doesn't play the game, so his computer was so bad he wouldn't play with music on because it would like slow his frames. So he's like literally just spamming 12 hours solo practice runs with no sound because he wouldn't play sound with the game either. So he would just like be in silence with his thoughts. Oh man,
Maybe that's a
That's
secret.
the worst.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
for the method race, I stopped streaming and stuff and just took a week off, and I sat there like I don't know 6+ hours a day. Eventually, it got to a point where music got on my nerves, and so I literally just listened to white noise. Like it was like a white noise 10 hours playlist, and I would play it like for like 6 days straight, and that's all I did is I just sat there and just like the whole time I'm having fun, but I would have so much more fun if I was like practicing with someone else. Like if every now and again Havoc would join in a run and like we would just do a duo run because there was some sort of duo race at the end of the weekend or the end of the method race. Like that would have been so much fun. Eventually there was, and I hung out with Chip, but yeah. The only thing that kept me sane was that I was racing against other people, so we'd be in like the global chat and be like, "Yo, XL, you want to do a race, dude?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure." After I finish this, dominance practice run, and then let me see if I can get Chip in. All right, we got Quantric. We're all just having fun. That was the most fun for me. So it's not like I was just. There were a few times where I just sit there for 5 hours and just completely silent.
With racing, that could be like a barrier of like it's hard to like practice to get good by yourself and just like sit there and just like it can be really boring.
Yeah.
And so like it's good to like get to know people. Like you get to know people who are like with you on the ladder, or like that's like the cool thing about Discord is like people can go join various racing Discords and jump into Soup Line's race, and then I'm just like, all right, I'm racing against TyTy. And we go send him a little message. I'm gonna beat you, TyTy. And then TyTy shits on you, and
yeah, pretty much.
It's fun.
I mean,
I
don't know the last part, but yeah, it's good for it.
That's also one of the cool things about racing is like all of these people are not hard to get a hold of. Like if someone has a racing question, I guarantee you can just message TyTy on Discord or something, and he'll actually answer the question.
I mean, I get tons of questions on my Discord. I'm just like, I check it every now and again. I'm like, here's the answer.
No, but you know what I'm saying. Like, how did you start? Yeah. Like, you start by just like randomly messaging Wrath or someone, right? Like, or like Wrath message you, or like.
I think racers just kind of show up, dude. I'm gonna be honest, and I do the same thing. Like, if I see someone practicing racing or I see somebody racing, I'm just like, yo, race stream, leveling stream. I'm annoying in that way, but like, if someone's racing or someone's practicing for a race, I'm watching a decent amount of the time. I don't watch nearly as much as I should. Like Ty watched like everybody. He like
Dude, Ty
really
watched
studied everybody.
everyone. Literally
like,
everyone.
But like there was a good amount of times where like, you know, I would just watch Wrath, and then Wrathless would like, you know, meme around with me, and he's like, yo, what up, Ventura? What are you doing here? Oh, you know, I'm just watching TyTy practice. And that's kind of like what you said, like how it got started.
Well, that's also
Like,
how Gucci got to be one of the best, was just like Gucci literally watches and talks to the most people in PoE by far.
Mhm.
Like if you talk to Gucci, you just be like, I just talked to you just be talking to him, be like, I just talked to X guy who like nobody has ever like heard of before because he had like some random exploit he found. Like I forget what league it was. It might have been in Method GSF. He like found out from some guy who like farms 3 headhunters at the start of softcore trade league every league. And like nobody had ever talked to him. He's like, yeah, just hit him up, and like he told me exactly how he does it. Because we were thinking about trying to get a headhunter in the Method GSF to just like flex on people. We
Yeah.
ended up doing it because we figured out there's a fair amount of RNG involved to try to get it on the first try. But
Yeah, I mean, I've done that before. I've gone to PoE Ninja, looked up a build, and I'm like, this guy's got exactly what I want. I might change these things, but let me ask like 2 meaningful questions, and then I'll just be on our way. And that's pretty much it. Like, we'll just start talking from there.
and you see with the like the community racing too, it's just like how much people like are like the PoE community is great. Like honestly, that's what keeps me playing and keeps me around. Is like even if I don't love the game, like I'll still talk to everybody. And yeah, everyone in it, you know, you don't really meet dicks that often. Like everyone's pretty chill and everyone's down to help each other.
Yeah, I don't know anybody that I don't like. But yeah, it's kind of just like a pretty inclusive thing, like community where most people can just get involved if they just want to put in a little bit of effort, you know, learn a bit of things, you know, have a few memes, have a few laughs. Like Brittle Knee for the some number of races ago, Brittle Knee was in my chat like every day. I didn't know who Brittle Knee was. I was like, yo, what up, dude? How we doing, Brittle Knee? Glad to see you back. Just every day for like 2 months straight. And then I was like, oh, she's a commentator. She was studying for this race coming up. Oh, I didn't even. She was just, you know, getting the know-how from one of the racers. She was in other racing streams too. So, yeah, it's really just like an inclusive community, I would say.
That sounds so wholesome. But yeah, I couldn't agree more with the factor that the community is what keeps PoE going for a large part. I mean, obviously, GGG is doing a very good job with their periodic releases and continuous expansion. But if it wasn't for the loving community, and that's what I said earlier as well, it's about the hardcore audience that you need to keep interested in the game, because those are the people who make the guides. Those are the people who push the hundreds, who win the races, who make the YouTube content. And that's what people aspire to. And if that falls away, if GGG doesn't keep the hardcore audience involved and loving the game, then I think slowly but surely the rest of the community would fall apart as well.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, I've been playing games for a while. Obviously, I played like, you know, WoW, and I feel like PoE's, you know, for a long time had the best probably community in video games. It's just like a group of people who really want the game to do well, and racing is no different. Just people who really want racing to do well. Like one of the initial conversations I had with like Gucci and Ventura, who really helped me put together that first race, was just like I wanted to set up like a race where like people are like, all right, this isn't something that's impossible, and hopefully it'll get people to make more races. And yeah, and we ended up like now people there's systems. I feel like making a race isn't that hard because we've done it so many times that yeah, we just have like everything in place to be able to do it.
There's some logistics involved, but like, you know, for the most part, it's a lot better than when we started. I would say.
Well, even with the logistics, it's just like if someone messages me and they're like, "Hey, I got a question about X," like I'll always answer a question or try to help someone set up a race. Doesn't happen too often anymore just because I retired, so I think people are figuring it out on their own. But like I don't think I've ever actually talked to Soupline. He's just kind of doing how have those races been? He's just kind of doing his thing, right?
They're good. They're just doing his thing, pretty much.
Yeah.
Just kind of like he just He's not like, let me grow this huge thing and make it a huge PoE sports. It's like, let me just get the boys together every Friday and we're just gonna race. You know what it is?
Well, that was another thing. Even beyond the racing was how many people got like casting experience. Like Brittle got casting experience. Ziggy got more casting experience to do the ExileCon race. Rise, Octavian, yeah, all the people who did the method races. I don't even know how many ended up doing. It was like 8 or something. I ended up getting casting experience from it. I casted the method Awakener race, which was a real challenge.
How do you feel about casting?
Long.
I'm skewed because I casted 24 hours of a league start, and it was a challenge. It was a real challenge.
Where you did the entire 24 hours in one go?
No. I did 8 hours on the first day, 8 hours on the second day, 8 hours on the third day. And league starts like really hard because there's just like no focus to it. She's like, okay, well, this person's mapping. It's literally like just like doing a comedy routine. However, I figured out a cheat. So like on day 2, Carve was streaming, and I love Carve. Carve's like one of my like good buddies from PoE, and so amazing. I just like I figured out that he was listening to the cast, but it wasn't coming through on his stream, like the sound. So I would just randomly say things to make Carve laugh and then just watch his reaction. And it was just like me and Carve doing like weird like comedy routines for like 5 hours a day. That was the best.
That is pretty
Carve.
good.
Yeah. Love Carve.
It's a pretty cool thing to do, to set up. I've been thinking about that like as well. Like it's just cool to be able to do audio routing in a way that your stream listens to something else that you're listening to, not just for listening to race events or something like that. Also, I don't know, if you don't enjoy a particular style of music or like one song, you can just fade it out for yourself and have it running.
It's a good idea.
I do love that.
Balor looked like you looked like you wanted to say something for a moment.
That was just one of my favorite bits of the Go XLR was rerouting audios to different volumes, and now the game volumes are all much louder in my head when I can afford to have combat sounds on, but I don't have to deafen stream. But now I can hear stuff over the top of my music, which I couldn't before. I really like that.
That's like one of the things about racing. It's like I remember during the duo race, me and Havoc we're taking this seriously. No music, nothing, dude. We're just gonna sit here with our communication. Like that's so funny when you see someone with no music. Like, oh, this guy's taking it seriously.
Dude, when I practice with my duo partner, an actual horn, we were just like, hey man, I don't have a partner, you don't have a partner. Let's just have some fun, dude. That's pretty much what it was like. I was gonna hit up Tricks, but I knew Horn a little bit better, so I was like, hey, you're sort of a racer, I'm sort of a racer, so let's sort of race together, I guess. And it was just a bunch of fun. We died in like every single practice run. We weren't expecting to like get second place, but it happened.
The thing that upset me about doing that race was that I couldn't be in the Discord call with Rise and Dead and Doom, which had to just be a constant flame war.
Probably.
Those two playing together. It's gotta be so good. Group races, the best.
Yeah.
We have still 2 or 3 topics to plug from. I think a big overlap between the Method Rush season and the China race is, and I think it was you, TyTyKiller, who brought that up, is the implications of having a high price pool in races. You wanted to talk a little bit about how racing I assume how racing is normally like a community constructive sort of driven thing where people help each other, but when there's a big prize money involved, obviously it's a little bit different. People keep secret strats and stuff.
Oh yeah, I want to hear Kammell's thoughts on this, but basically just to expand is like with ExileCon, I just completely shut down all communication with other people, and not everybody. I still talk with friends, obviously, but I wasn't gonna leak strats to other racers and be like, "Hey, what do you think of this? What do you think of that?" I did talk with a few people around that time, but I wasn't gonna like ask Ty what he's doing. He wasn't gonna ask me what I was doing. But if there's like some races where like the prize money is like $10 and I can go and watch Chip stream because he streamed the soup line race last time, and I can see how he did something and I can see how I can improve. I think it's better for racing, but at the same time, like if the prize money is $10, I'm not really gonna practice like 8 hours a day kind of thing. Like it's kind of a double-edged sword having a high prize pool. So you have a race, right, and the prize pool is like really high. People are gonna practice like super hard, but people aren't gonna like communicate with it. I think the communication takes place after the race, but sometimes there's another race coming up, like it's not too much communication there. We're in a weird spot right now where like the meta hasn't really shifted, so like there's not too much to innovate. There's some options you have, but for the most part, it's like kind of this or that. I feel like
sure that's prize pool related though, because like even if there was no prize pool in the ExileCon race, you guys still wouldn't have shared strats.
I would have, to be honest.
Oh, those guys.
I know Ty wouldn't have, and I'm pretty sure that
Havoc
wouldn't have.
doesn't. I mean, there are people who just keep strats.
Yeah,
because they want to win or.
That's the thing, but like I personally don't want to share strats if I'm like directly gonna lose money as a result of it.
I feel like that ExileCon race was really fun for everyone who wasn't playing in it, who was a racer, because then we choose. So like I remember early on in that race because I played the method GSF with Ty and I was good friends with Ty. I'm like I'm only talking to Ty and I'm getting it so Ty wins. So like me and Ty would like be talking about like strats a little bit, but like all of us like picked our racer who we wanted. So it was kind of fun in that way. But in terms of like not sharing strats, I mean, just some people, just don't share strats. I don't know.
I guess.
Like I feel like Havoc just doesn't share strats.
We've talked a few times.
Like 3 people.
Yeah, we've talked a few times, but when he comes to the table and he's like, "All right, I've got these 8 things. What do you got, TyTy?" And I'm like, I found this.
The problem with Havoc is he gave you the 8 things that he was like least excited about. Like he never tells you the good stuff. Like he just tells you some shit so he can get the good stuff from you.
Yeah. He had 12. He picked the best 4, kept them for himself, and then shit.
Yeah, pretty. I mean, just a gamer. It's just how it is.
You just have to know. You get bamboozled one time, and then the next time you're like, I got this. He's not getting me again, this guy.
But yeah, I just feel like personally, like the prize pool kind of takes away from like I'm doing this for fun, right? At the end of the day, I'm doing it for fun. But when I see a prize pool of $1,500, $1,000, I am less inclined to talk to the people around me to help them out. Like I feel like I don't want to go help Exile win more money because then I inherently lose money, and it's a large sum of money at that.
Yeah,
that's basically my point.
Do you think that's a problem? Do you think not sharing strats is a good thing or a bad thing?
I think it's a bad thing. I think that we should kind of come together and like be like, I think we can improve by doing this. I think we can improve by doing that. Like, there's probably some skills that are better than what we're using right now, but like, just due to lack of innovation, we're not really using that. But like, say someone were to find something better than Orb of Storms and like wasn't streaming, they could just like never show that. I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it falls on the person. Like, I never really hit strats. The only time I did was in the duo race with Havoc, but that's just kind of what you sign up for.
Yeah.
I don't think you usually hide strats. Unless, it's pretty much just the ExileCon race, right?
Yeah, it was ExileCon and Method race, but those are both just because I wanted to focus on practice more so than like I want to be an entertaining streamer.
It's just not fun, and it's weird because I talk to the other racers like pretty much every day, and then I'm just like either lying to them or not saying what I've been doing.
Yeah, it does feel a little weird. But yeah, that was just my random thoughts on the no strat sharing situation. Personally, I feel like it's tied to a prize pool, but I don't think it necessarily has to be.
I like the point that you brought up that potentially we're all playing the wrong meta because we don't know what the best meta is. Because that reminds me of the conversation I had with Kammell leading up to the podcast. The point where, what was it, when a Storm brand was implemented in 3.5 Betrayal League?
Yep.
Everyone
So,
played Stormbrand and Races, but there would have been already a better option.
Yeah, so we played Stormbrand and Betrayal. We had figured out that was really good, probably from like Uber or Rise. I think those guys had played Stormbrand at the start of the league, because we were all still in the Arc Mines meta. We're like, Arc Mines is way better. And then we tried Stormbrand one day. We're like, God, we were stupid. Stormbrand's the best. And so we just started playing Stormbrand, and then they nerfed Stormbrand in was 3.8, 3.7. I think it was 3.7.
Yeah.
I think it was 2 leagues later. And then I like nobody knew what the meta was, and we do this race where like nobody knows the meta, and I do Shock Nova because Methel just had a video of Shock Nova and it looked pretty good. And so I throw in an unlinked Orb of Storms and try it. I'm like, wait a second, this skill is insane. And then I thought about it later once we finally like figured out what the Orb of Storms build was. I was like, wait a second, we could have been using this for like 3 leagues because it was actually better than old Stormbrand. Like OG Stormbrand was worse than Orb of Storms. So there could be anything. Like Ice Nova could be the best. Havoc says this all the time. Havoc's just like, dude, there's probably a skill out there we just don't know. Yeah.
What if?
Yeah.
Melee's the play.
Yeah.
I like to entertain that thought too until I actually load up a melee run and I'm like, I'm doing something fundamentally wrong here. So,
what if Chainhook Inquisitor is the greatest racing build of all time? What if? What if?
What if? I like that.
Honestly, I think that's like the thing that Havoc is the best at above all else, above anyone, is just like having an open mind. Like if you ever tell Havoc something that you think is right, he won't dismiss it without trying it. Like he'll at least listen to an argument, no matter what it is. Which is in PoE where like there's like pretty much like an endless amount of possibilities of things you could do. Is like a really good mindset, which it makes sense why he's like one of if not the best player. Yeah.
Yep. 100% agree.
I'm sitting here thinking about Ranger now.
Yeah, I mean, you can get some pretty nice times as Ranger.
Anything else but Toxic Rain?
Yeah.
Anything with Mirage Archer in it?
Come on, TyTy, don't do that. Yeah. This Mr. Sharon Strats isn't sharing anything on the Ranger strats. Look at this guy.
You get a rain of arrows, and you get a wand, or not a wand craft, but you get an elemental, like a lightning craft, on your bow, and all your jewelry, and you pop off.
That's like the problem with like, this is why you don't like speak in absolutes, because like, in a perfect world, you can have a Ranger run that's better than any Witch run. Like if in a perfect world,
if you just
the problem is you just never make it. Yeah,
you good luck dropping that many transmute to me. I'm gonna be honest.
Like you get the 3-link green at level 1, like off Hillock.
Yeah.
You get the whole setup.
So maybe just someone needs to be brute forcing the numbers.
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe we just need more innovation. It's partly my fault, but
I mean, the thing is, another issue with like when we figured out that Orb of Storms is the best is like it's so obvious why it is like why can't I just like then you just start thinking about every skill. You start second guessing like everything you know about the game. She's like, wait a second, this skill instantly is placed, and if you have like chain, any AOE, or pro lift, like it just one shots the screen. So like, I actually had that thought when I watched Wins, if you know Wins, the software player, because I think he was the first person I saw using the was it like Consecrated Path Mines. Is that what that build is? The level 1 that does the Consecrated Ground, like I don't remember
Purifying
what that
Flame.
called. Yeah, Purifying Flame. Sorry, thank you. Purifying Flame Mines, and I'm like, oh shit, like I've never seen anyone use that skill before. Like I didn't even know it was good.
Best mine builds ever. It's insanely good.
Yeah, like hits the whole screen. Like it's it's really really
like
good.
The first mine hits like a little tiny area, and then every single mine after just keeps cascading out and out and out.
But that I guarantee someone tried that from a what if question. Like what if Purifying Flame is the best mining skill?
There it is.
Probably as a joke. You'd be like, I wonder whether this will be any good. Whoa. Hang on.
Whoa. I mean, yeah, it's the cool thing about PoE. You just gotta try everything. Every
Sure.
league too, they always change around numbers, and there's new new cool when they changed Dark Arts, that like completely changed PoE. Like Arc Mines was so good, and then they add Dark Arts, and you're like, wait a second, I need to start self casting. Screw this
pretty much.
mind shit.
Mm-hmm. I
Wait,
think
Dark
that,
Arts is the dual wield cluster, right?
Yeah.
For those
Yep.
of us
Yeah.
who are not
Cooldown
very
recovery.
familiar with the notable names.
cooldown recovery on travel skills. Yeah, it's pretty good.
It's pretty
It's got some
nuts.
movement speed on the left side of it too. Kind of nice.
Some spell damage while dual wielding.
Mm-hmm.
Or they make like other changes, like when they removed Alchemist, which is still the worst. I hate it.
You
I
mean
want
Adrenaline?
Alchemist back. Or what was it? No.
The
The
flask cluster
wheel.
on top of which.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Alchemist. I thought you were talking about the Beastcraft.
Yeah, I think it was goated. Oh, I miss the Beastcraft for the Adrenaline.
Yeah.
That was like one of
Honest-
those things where it's like they clearly don't care about racing, because like limiting the RNG with something like that would have been so good.
Yeah.
For anyone who's not aware, who didn't play in Bestiary, you used to be able to guarantee an Adrenaline from mobs and climb. You'd like capture the goats, and then you'd have a guaranteed Adrenaline.
And
Yep.
pretty much every winning or world record run that has been done was with an adrenaline.
I got a world record without an Adrenaline. A world record Act 10 run without an Adrenaline. And then I lost it 3 hours later to Ty. Never
3
get a
hours
world
later?
record. Yeah, never get a world record when Ty's around you.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, you can go for him now. That's what happened to me. Ty just popped off. Funny story, actually. I got the Act 10 Katava world record. Some months after Ty got it, and Havoc beat it by like less than a minute, and I was like, all right, let's pop off, let's beat Havoc, and then Ty just came in and beat it by like 8 minutes or something like that. And I was like, all right, I give up. I'm just gonna focus on school. I'm gonna be honest.
I'm just gonna go focus on school.
Yeah, and then we like all had theories of like, is Ty just holding onto VODs?
Yeah, what
When
if he has a
everyone beats
flash
him?
drive? There was a copy pasta where someone was like, Ty23 reaches over to his drawer, pulls out flash drive number 23. He's like, I'll upload this run today.
Yeah,
He's got a bunch of
record
folders sitting on his
theory.
desktop
Yeah.
that are just named different times.
Yeah,
Mhm.
So
exactly. And that
whoever
is
wins
only
next. He could just be like, throw the one in above that.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it didn't make any sense. I had a world record for like a 2-hour and 45-minute run. This dude uploads a better one in 3 hours. I was like, what? How did that even happen, dude?
It's just that good.
you just randomly started at the same time as you.
It's just better.
That's
Just
how it is.
better.
Is
Some
there,
people are just better.
is there any other pivotal, noteworthy points that you want to talk about in the race meta evolution? I remember that around Legacy League, when TyTy came into the game and when we had the last official events, that a lot of people were doing the Leap Slam runs. Sunder Leap Slam with Marauder and Duelist to Malachi, because obviously Kitava wasn't in the game back then. And yeah, from then to where we are now with Opal Storms and I guess Stormblast Mine and a bunch of different options actually. How did we get there, and what do you think is important to talk about, important to mention there?
I would say that both the game has become easier outside of the most recent changes to make the campaign harder. Like there were lots of changes where like, oh, this is just straight up better than Sunder, or like oh, this just makes it easier. Like when they introduced the Wandcraft back in, I think it was actually by league. I don't know which league it was, but they introduced the Wandcraft where you can craft like T6 flat dispels at level 20. And I remember talking to Gucci and he's just like, yeah, this Wandcraft's insane. It's nuts how impactful this thing is, and so it's done in every single run. We do 1 at 8 and then 2 at 20 if you can, if it's that kind of a race format, if it goes a little bit longer. But like, there's lots of stuff like that where it's like it's just lean towards being easier in a sense. So that's one of the biggest reasons why time has improved. But another thing is just like player skills improved a lot. Like if you watch like really old VODs of like old world records, they're like night and day difference between that and like a TyTyKiller VOD, for example.
I actually disagree. I think
You think?
I think the game is
Fantastic.
easier. I think that the game competing as a racer is way harder than it used to be. There's so many more buttons than there used dude, like when they
Yeah,
added smoke mine, people were furious. Like
people are
having
still mad.
2 movement skill buttons, oh my god, dude, it is
It's kind of
horrible.
3.
Yeah.
It's kind of
So
3
Change the
movement skill
detonate.
buttons.
the
Well, I think
game just
doesn't
to
Gucci have detonate as the same button that he does smoke mine?
I'm not sure.
I'd have to ask him about it. But yeah, the game there's just like way more to do. And then they added like wave of conviction. You literally just always have a full skill bar. Like back in the day, it was literally just like, all right, I fire a storm for 20 levels. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
Like, there's so much more tech and like min maxing now than there used to be. Like, to be like as good as someone who's like really good at racing now, it just gets harder every league because they keep adding like situationally good buttons that if you can do it and like fit it into your setup, then you're gonna be better than the other person.
So basically, the game became easier because we have more tools available, but the skill cap is higher because you need to juggle those tools and know when to use them correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, that was like a big thing. I remember when we first started seeing this. A good example was like people who were really bad at using War Banner and people who were really good at using War Banner. And some people were really bad at using War Banner, and you could tell because, like, damn, dude, you're not getting anything done with that War Banner. Because it was also in the meta where Explosive Trap was really good. So you'd have to be
Yep.
able to like time your explosive traps, have them not go off before your War Banner's up, but not throw your explosive traps too late so that you're missing out on time anyway. And then, yeah, you just keep seeing stuff like that, keep adding stuff.
Leaf was a god at War Banner.
Yeah. Thief was a god at a few things.
Yep.
War Banner was one of them.
Many things, in fact.
That was back when people played Templar.
Yeah. Back in the
Back when that was like another
old
thing that
days.
me and Catmaster talked about this one the other day, but it was just like the exclusion of gems to certain classes infuriates me. Like Templar not getting Swift Assembly or Smoke Mine, so he can't be played in races unless you're Quantric, who's like specifically trying to just beat, like we were talking about with Havoc earlier, like just beat people at Templar so he can talk shit to them because it's a worse class. Like the fact that it doesn't get Smoke Mine just like is so ridiculous.
Yep. Yeah, no, the only other thing I want to mention about the evolution of like metas is that like sometimes it comes along because something got nerfed, and so we look for other options. I think one of the big things that I dislike the most is when people ask for like a ban skill race, because like we'll all play like Orbistorms for a decent while, and people advocate for like ban Orbistorms, do a race without Orbistorms. I want to see like Marauder only, or like I want to see just this kind of format. I want to see Ranger only. That's cool and all, but what ends up happening is like, say Orbistorms gets nerfed, then we have one race where people are doing random stuff. We don't really know what's good, and then we look at whoever did the best, and we're like, cool, that's the meta now. Or we can look at some build and be like, this is it. Like this is going to be the next meta, and so that becomes the meta for the future. Like my point is that if we banned Orbistorms, we would have one race where people are playing some wacky stuff. People are playing some pretty cool stuff, and then everybody after that would just play the same skill. It would just be the next Orbistorm.
What
happens?
Sorry, go ahead, Baylor.
Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, so that's actually why I made the class race, the Demi race, was because people were like, "Can we ban skills to see new shit?" I'm like, "That's a terrible idea. Let's just invite everyone and give prizes for each class, so that way people are playing different stuff, and we can actually see how other stuff stacks up against the top stuff in the meta." Yeah, so that was like a really important part of that class race. That's sorry, good, Baylor.
I always thought band skill races were weird, but for a slightly different reason. I always thought they were weird because they always get done as once-offs. And I always felt like if you were going to do band skill races, what I would want would be a little like a list of them. Like, oh, here's 10 short races in a row but whatever skill wins first can't be used in the next race. And then they just get banned just based on whatever won. And then by the time you get to the 10th race, 9 skills are banned, and everybody's got to go out of their way to do whatever is now work out what the 9th best thing is. And I always thought that would be interesting, but having one race where you're just like, just ban that one strong skill. I was just like, that
Well, that's the
doesn't
only way
seem...
to do it. Because like if you look at this meta, if you just banned Orb of Storms, then everyone's just playing whatever the second best skill is. Like
Yeah.
it just doesn't make sense. So like what you're saying is actually right. Like, yeah, that's a good way to do it. Once again, that just costs $1,500 to put together all those races.
yeah. Not a great option if you want a bunch of 1 hour races. Let's do 10 1-hour races with bands. Yeah, okay,
You know
who's
what?
paying for
But, yeah.
this?
It brought
So
me
the
back to an
capacitor
idea I
is-
had. Like it would. I'm just gonna quickly say that it would be so cool to be able to ban like specific items or skill gems from dropping in a custom league, but like obviously we can't expect to make you can't expect GGG to make a super sophisticated user interface to customize the leagues. But just like with the item filters, they could give us a simple style sheet sort of language with which we could define custom leagues with like a text document that you just import into the site. And then, it would be just cool to exclude certain skill gems completely. They just don't exist in that league. You just can't get Orb of Storms. It's impossible. That would be pretty funny.
Yeah, I mean that could maybe be doable. I don't know. I don't particularly like band races just because I don't like playing the second best skill. I practice a lot to be good at a skill, and that skill's one of the best skills, if not the best skill of that patch. And then now all of a sudden I have to play some crap skill because Reddit said so. I don't really like that.
Well, it wouldn't be every race from now on in the future. It would like be a special, outlier event, or for the sake of it.
One really cool thing that I figured out from the class race was that we were all actually horrible. So
Yep.
TyTy might remember that. Do you remember what I'm talking about, TyTy?
Mhm.
So Goliath, who is a racer, plays Templar, right? And so
Yep.
we're just like chilling, we're all playing, and then he's like popping off. He's racing Steel on Templar, just like dominating him. And we look at his setup, and this dude's got Stormbrand linked with Chain. And nobody had done it before. And we're like, wait a second. We could have been doing this shit for 6 months, and we're just all too stupid to put one gem in to support this other gem. Like, honestly, it would have changed racing. Was like, and that was a cool thing because we got everyone in. They tried different setups, and we had figured out that we were all idiots for 6 months.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, we're still idiots, but
I'm
I had a
still
specific
running down.
example of the 6 months of idiocy.
Yeah.
So I guess long story short about racing is always try things. Listen to Havoc. What if?
What if? I feel like for
What
new
if?
players, as like a last minute note, is just like for new players, like if you want to get into racing, you like watch a VOD of someone you like, your hero maybe, whoever's like good. It doesn't have to be like the rank 1 guy. It could just be like Havoc, or it could just be like Ziz. Anybody that's good. You take notes on what they do, and then you just literally try to copy paste what they do. Too many people like try to reinvent the wheel without having the means to do so. And so if you know what you're doing when it comes to racing, and like maybe you're like within the ballpark, you can actually start to like think from then on. I feel like obviously you can make innovations and you can make things that are improving, but if you start doing too many weird stuff, you'll deviate from like an actual speedrun. I feel like for most people, I would say don't race against racers, race against yourself. You should copy racers, copy what they do, but don't copy other times until you're like within a few minutes of them. Otherwise you get discouraged. You should do this for fun. You should do this because you want to improve, that kind of thing.
Well, that was one. I brought this up earlier. That was one of the criticisms I had for you, TyTy. Was I feel like you were in that spot for longer than you should have been. I used to always give him the. I used to always give him the criticism of he was thinking too linearly. So he would just try to like copy, like let's say Havoc, and he would just keep speed running this thing instead of actually like slowing down his practice and like thinking like critically about how he can improve. And I think maybe he just thought he was worse than he was. Like he reached a point where he was good at the game, and then once you reach the point where you're good enough at the game to be able to like replicate someone else's run, you should be starting to think for yourself about how to improve, as opposed to just like stacking yourself up against another person.
Mm-hmm.
which he fixed. Look at him now; he's all grown up.
Oh, thank you.
Oh,
But yeah, do
Very-
you guys have
very
anything else
wholesome.
to say?
You probably have to leave really quickly for the event.
Oh yeah, I got a neck 5 race in 1 minute, so I
In
just
1
gonna go
minute.
ahead
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
All right, let's
we'll
go.
probably hang out and then chat for a little bit, but you're obviously excused, and we'll be keeping a close eye on your progress. Thank you so much for joining. And if you guys don't know TyTyKiller, make sure that you familiarize yourself with him by watching him race.
All right, thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
bye, bye.
Yeah, I have to fix the overlay. You guys can keep the show running.
Hi, Baylor.
Hi, how you doing?
Just hanging out.
Hey. Are you not doing any of the races from today?
No.
Do
I wasn't
do you
gonna-
race still?
I
Not
don't
organizing.
know. I don't know. Maybe. I just haven't been playing the game too much. It's a little hard for me just because if I stream it and I play in it, people kind of expect me to do well. And if I'm not practicing or anything, it's a little bit difficult. I might be doing the Chinese rum, I think might be doing a group self-found. So we might be getting a group together for that. Gucci asked me if I might want to play. Gucci's like probably my best friend in PoE. So might play with him on that, but yeah, I don't know. I'll do like the league start. Generally, my thing about PoE is like now I just don't play it if I don't want to, which sounds obvious, but
Yeah.
some people end up playing the game even when there's like a bunch of stuff they have problems with it. So
That is
that
is not that obvious. I
I
know it
play,
sounds like it should be.
I play like
but-
the league start, and if it's just like if I'm not having fun, I just stop playing.
Yeah,
or
that's
if
nearly
there's,
a
like,
talent
bugs and
all in
stuff.
its own. Just being
Yeah.
able to leave and not play it. That's not something I'm good at.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same. Like I used to like, especially with like league starts, you'd be like, oh, this is kind of annoying, but I got to push ladder or I got to do this or I got to do that, and then now I'm just like, whatever. I'm just not really loving it.
Now I'm curious as to where we end the YouTube video.
I think we're still gonna talk. One section is something that I don't. I mean, it would have been nice to have TyTyKiller's input on that, but I think Kammell has a lot to say about that, and that's something we've probably touched upon in some moments, but we didn't really go in detail on that, and that's how could GGG improve the game racing experience. Like we touched a little bit about RNG and then skill gems and infuriating things, but I think Kammell had like an entire list almost of things that could be easily changed in the game to make the racing experience better without negatively impacting the game for anyone else.
Yeah, I mean, some of the stuff that was on the Chinese realm would be obviously beneficial. We've always had issues like I talked about with the Beastcraft earlier. One of the things that was actually an underrated thing at the time because most people were playing Sunder. So you didn't really use Quicksilvers. People were doing like leap slamming and stuff. I think if they cared about, I think one thing that one criticism that racing gets is that it somehow takes away time from GGG developing the game as people see it. So like mapping, doing like softcore trade pushes or whatever end game stuff. So one of the cool things is that we don't have a ton of overlap just because not a lot of people, but there is a certain group of people who think that the story mode of the game is just kind of like a tutorial for the actual game, which is like mapping. And so a lot of the changes that you could make in story mode don't actually affect a lot of players, or if you increased or limited the RNG and increased, drops that people are getting. Like people talked who played through the Chinese realm, like you getting all this currency, like you getting 4 chance orbs in Act 3 doesn't ruin the economy of the game, right? It just makes the game more pleasurable for your playthrough. And so to me, like limiting RNG, maybe making like a standard way to craft like adrenaline, because adrenaline's such a major factor in RNG. Someone IDing adrenaline off Act 2 doing the Den quest, like you get so mad if you see someone do that. So yeah, just like basic stuff through the story mode of like trying to equalize it so that the game has a lot of RNG already involved, and I'm not saying we're like completely get rid of the RNG. It's just like it's a little too wide, and it has been for a while for my liking.
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, if you play competitively, obviously you want to more or less consistently perform better than other people who are less skilled than you, and if RNG offsets that more often than not, then that's I mean, it undermines your efforts. I can see that totally being frustrating.
So like, what do you guys think about like what if like the vendors always had a 3 link at the start? Like the level 1 vendors. I don't even know how I feel about it. I'm just like curious. Like, what would that ruin the game so that everyone just has a 3 link at the start?
Maybe not at the start. Maybe like when you get into.
I don't think it would make any difference outside of racing, and at all, just at all. Like,
it
frankly,
actually
the vendor wouldn't even have to have a 3 link. They could literally drop, instead of a 3 color, they could drop a 3 link chrome piece, and it wouldn't make any difference to anyone.
Well, I think it would improve like the new player experience, right? Because like if you get support gems, you might not even be able to use them because you don't have a 3 link. Like they have level 1 and 4 support gems, right? But like you can't even use them. Like you can't even like get to know the game. Like didn't they say like an X amount of people don't even make it past Brutus? And they're like, yeah, because they're not like I've done practice runs where you have like literally like a 2 link and you're like just want to like pull your hair out.
I've gotten to Act 2 on a 2 link before and been like, what has happened? Where I've been looking everywhere. I've checked vendors like 6 times. What? Just once every now and then. It's pretty rare, but I've had it like 2 or 3 times. I've gotten all the way to Act 2 and been like, I'm on a 2 link. Once I got there on a 2 link that was in my chest, because that was the only 2 link that dropped. One time I had to put a chest on to get a second link. And I was like, well, okay, this is ruined.
Well, I guess they're changing that with the gem changes in PoE 2 potentially.
Yeah.
But this is something that people brought up with like trading and like the auction house. There's just like a lot of stuff in the game where you're like, okay, I understand your initial philosophy was to make X kind of game, but like every league you guys have seemingly made a different kind of game, but some of the mechanics of this game don't match how they've changed the game recently. If that makes sense. There's like still some like really archaic systems in the game. Like I feel like you should like even getting a 3 link off Hillock, I feel like would be fine. Or like maybe trading. I don't know. And maybe that's some of the frustration with the players who played on the Chinese realm, because it looks like they've been a little more innovative.
Yeah. Yeah. 3 link on a vendor. And they get all the way up to what, a 5 link from a quest reward in Act 10? So they never have to stop and farm a tabula. There's just a 5 link and the 3 different armor bases for you to pick from, or armor types for you to pick from, so you can get whatever colors you need, and then off into maps on a 5 link. I'd never ever stop for a tabula if everyone was getting a 5 link. I don't stop for a tabula now, but everyone getting a 5 link to move into maps with is very nice. Would that really matter? Would it really hurt anything?
I don't think so. You know, there's like Project PT would be pissed. They'd be like random, like people who are like, this isn't the PoE I remember.
Yeah, but it just doesn't seem like it would hurt anything to give everyone a 5 link when they hit maps. Like it just, I mean, at the same time, I don't need a 5 link for anything when I hit maps first. 4 links are fine. But that's the thing.
Depends on the build.
If we know enough to have the right kind of power and crafts behind the character when you get to map, you're almost not going to notice the difference between a 4-link and a 5-link in early mapping. You're going to one-shot everything you move through. But
Well,
your
and
less
also,
experienced player isn't, and going to a 5-link for them is huge. So it really only helps new players when it doesn't really affect experienced players much at all. Like, yeah, okay, we've got a 5-link, that's great. But you know what? I was going to have a 5-link or a 6-link by the end of day one anyway. And my early mapping experience on a 4-link wasn't going to be bad. So you really haven't made a huge difference to me. But you've given the new player and the less experienced player that 5-link, which is fantastic for them. And that makes that smoother. So, I
well,
don't
all
know.
that stuff literally only affects day one of league start. Like,
Yeah.
you would vendor the 5-link probably in like softcore trade on like day 3. You're like, whatever.
But like day 3, they're hidden. There better be a 5-link 6 socket or I'm not going to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
like
don't know what I think about that, honestly. Like, when I started playing the game, no one would really plan around getting a 6-link. 6-links were like this unobtainable, like, ultimate goal. Most people would plan around a 5-link in their build. And
Yep.
and by now, this position, like, what people plan around, like, nowadays everyone takes a 6-link for granted. You're gonna have a 6-link. And
Yeah. Even solo self-found, you're just going to have a 6-link.
yeah, it's hard for me because I see both sides to the argument. I see that, with two big RNG drops and two impactful things, that it's too RNG dependent to be good for competitive racing. But at the same time, I, as a also casual player, I like the randomness of randomly getting something that's very impactful for my build because it feels good. Like what we talked about earlier with the randomly in a race, getting a +1 wand or like something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a balancing act. I could understand someone who's saying that yeah, there's like obviously a good feeling to get good RNG, right? But there's also the converse of feeling really shitty about your bad RNG. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I kind of just enjoy the level playing field a little bit more. On certain things, I don't know. Like I said, I could have been wrong about the 3-link idea, but I think adrenaline has just been too important, and it's kind of really hurt racing. How important adrenaline is versus the RNG of actually getting it and when someone gets it. Yeah.
The other solution to
Mhm.
that would be to just raise the level requirement of adrenaline to like 61 and be like, no one has it. Now you have to roll one when you get to maps.
You could do that. Although then you're having not so much fun for a very long time. Oh, he's
Oh.
back.
Oh.
He's back.
I was gone.
Yep, you were gone.
Well, you were also gone. Was that me? Wait, does that mean my podcast is gone? My stream should be still up, right? No, not a single frame dropped. All good. We're good. It's just
Yep,
Discord shitting the
Stream looks fine.
thing. Yeah, to quickly conclude it, do you see a way another big thing that you mentioned to me was the difference of load screen times regionally. So people who are close to the Texas servers, I believe, like Hellman, have insanely short load screens, and people all over the world have different load screens. Do you see any way that could be resolved for racing, or like maybe only specifically for race events and not for the entire game, but without making the game unnecessarily, like artificially slowing it down for everyone who would have faster times? Is there anything?
I don't think there's a way for anyone to fix it other than GGG fixing it. I mean, I don't understand really how GGG hasn't fixed it. Like, if you watch Gucci, like Gucci's load times or Steel's, like anyone who plays in New Zealand or Australia, like the game is literally just less fun. Like those load screens are insane. Even if you have like a super juiced computer, there's still like 5 to 6 seconds on average. Where like
Easy 6
then
second loads. Game.
you watch like old Thraz videos, or like Hellman, or like someone who lives in Texas, like Waggle or like Garatha, and it's just like 0.3 second load screen, and you're like, what the hell is going on here? I actually heard that this is like not as big of a problem in the Chinese realm. I don't really understand why, but Garatha said his load screens were pretty fast on the Chinese realm.
I think I know why, but it's speculation. And if I'm wrong, the internet likes to shit all over you because you speculated about something. But it looks like they don't jump through multiple places. So what I mean by that is if I from here load a new instance, it goes to the Sydney server. The Sydney server says I'm allowed to make an instance, and then that jumps from the Sydney server to the Texas server that gives me a seed for the instance that then jumps that back from Texas to Sydney. Then Sydney can make it, and then they send it to me. China doesn't have that. They've only got one server. So you go to the server,
Right.
kind of make an instance. Yes, here it is, and it's back. And that's
Right.
it. It doesn't matter where you're coming from.
Like we've seen with racers, like some European racers in the past have played on like DC because it's like closer to Texas, so it's faster load times, but you have worse
Yeah.
ping. So I guess yeah, that makes sense. I just didn't think about it. So like if someone's playing on the Chinese realm, you just have 230 ping, but because it's only one server, you'll just have fast load times no matter what you do.
But what I don't understand, which is because I have like literally no programming experience or development experience at all, what I don't understand is why Texas is the only place that can approve me making an instance. Why can't Sydney server approve me making an instance? Because the Sydney server is the one that makes the instance for me, but it has to get approval from Texas. What is that? Why is that a thing? Why can't my local server make me a goddamn instance without permission from Texas?
And maybe all of those things are the reason why we don't get good performance and why we don't get race leaks and why we don't get end of league flashbacks, because maybe GGG is very, very busy resolving all of these things that go on in the background that most people don't even get to think about, really. Maybe they're really just trying to fix the game up and to clean up everything until PoE 2.
But I just don't get like, I don't know. To me, like, so we brought up the load screens to Chris when we initially talked about racing and what could improve racing. I just don't understand. Like, imagine if you told every EU player we can cut 3 seconds of loading every instance. You'd be like, yeah, that's like the greatest evolution of the game possible.
Yeah, I genuinely would like to know why my Sydney server or every server isn't allowed to make an instance. Why do they all have to come from Texas? Because that's what causes the problem. If every server was making their own instance, I don't know what that is. I'm sure there's a good reason. There would have to be, or they would have just changed it. But I don't understand it. And so I would just really like the explanation of that, because I don't know what's going on, right? Like, I don't get it. And since it's something that in my simple-minded head seems very simple and easy, I'm very confused as to why it's not done. And yeah, that,
Like
I don't know.
it feels
that
like
just gets
when
me.
your parents tell you like it just is, and then you just have to stop
Yeah, it
asking
just is
questions.
like that doesn't work for me. I need an explanation, please.
Yeah, I
Give
don't
me a
know.
good explanation and I'll be sated.
Yeah. I think that's a good note to end on, unless you guys want to add anything. If you guys have some closing thoughts, I'll quickly let the people know that we are at the end of a 2.5 hour live podcast. This podcast will be uploaded in full, as usual, to BalorMage's YouTube as a video version and as an audio version to pretty much everywhere where you can listen to audio podcasts. Last time I had a really nice prepared outro speech. This time I don't have that luxury. So If you haven't already, guys, check out TyTyKiller, who's racing right now, as seen in the middle screen. And check out Kammell. Kammell, what are you up to these times? What can people hit you up for? Do you want to coach people in Valorant? Are you going to host community events in Valorant?
I want to thank you guys, obviously, for having me on the podcast. It was a lot of fun. Pleasure.
Likewise.
If anything, you can go to twitch.tv/Gucci Pradas. My man is trying to get partnered. Go hit him up. Go sub. Don't watch me do anything. I suck at video games. He's a gaming warlord. So go watch him. Don't watch me. Or these two guys.
But you're open to requests when people are like, hey, I really want to get into organizing PoE community races, but I just need a little bit of insider information of someone who's already done it, some expertise.
I will help you. You can hit me up on Discord. My stream, it's a wasteland. There's nothing good happening on my stream. Go watch Gucci Pradas. Maybe you'll see us play some Apex. Go watch one of the million other PoE streamers like Cat and Balor. But yeah, thank you very much for having me on.
Thanks for coming on. It's been a pleasure to listen and to engage in conversation. Both you, of course, and the TyTyKiller, who is not able right now to respond. Balor?
But he is already in Act 2. That's insane. Right. Yep. I don't know. I guess.
Anyway, if you enjoyed the episode, there's a bunch more episodes. Check out Balor's YouTube. Like I said, check out the various audio platforms. We've been on all audio platforms since episode 27. This was episode 29. And episode 30, in which we'll talk all about the upcoming league announcement. The next league will be announced on the 2nd of June. And the weekend after the 2nd of June, on the 6th of June, if everything goes right, we will have another podcast for you lined up with BalorMage and myself, and hopefully two guests that can hope to be as impactful as Kammell and TyTy were on today's podcast.